Live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back, or if you even left. I will call the meeting of the Village of Ruidoso Workshop to order, and we will stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance to the flag and to the state flag. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Thank you. All right. It was a good, long day, an excellent lunch, and now I can't wait for lunch again. No, not really.
It's one of the perks.
That's how they get us to be here.
That's it. So Judy, where do you want to pick up at? Or where would you like to?
We'll be on legislative, which is your all's department. There's 7 positions, and it starts on page 5. The only thing that's not in the personnel section of this area is the increase, because I guess the county commissioners got an increase, but the amount is not really material to the overall budget, so it's not in here right at this
Okay.
So is that why it went up a little bit more then?
Yes. Because it's based on,
It's based on the
it's
count,
best, yeah.
40% of the annual salary of the county
The
commissioners.
county commission, it
So
goes up.
the ones that were here to, the rate's going to go up.
That's why Greg.
So does that, will that
That's why
affect,
he's asking all the questions.
so will that affect the other 3 counselors?
Only if when they, only when, if they're reelected at that time.
So now we're making more money
Yes.
than you all.
So that's going to happen, yes.
Okay,
No fighting.
Good.
No fighting, right?
good.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Pay for my insurance. So,
Hey,
Well,
I've been,
Hey, I'm in the red.
But now you won't be.
I
Good.
might be able to have a job.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, we're going to start with 101010 legislative. Okay, ads and publications, that's the newsletter. That's $108,000 a year.
And that's monthly, right?
Yes.
Monthly publication, okay?
What is that?
The newsletter.
Yeah.
we're now the Ruidoso newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody loves it. Okay.
We
and
started
then-
without you,
No,
man.
you should have.
And then next we have subscriptions and dues, and that's going to be the municipal league dues, the Chamber of Commerce, the COG, and that's going to be $30,900.
We're on your budget, Mayor, the legislative.
Uniforms is at $1,000. Office supplies and postage, $500. We barely use anything out of that account, but just in case you have special requests. And then special projects is $15,000, and that's gonna be the mixer,
Yep.
any parades that we're in, any tables that we buy. That's where all of that goes. And then, there's a contingency in there for $10,000.
Ah, so is this the mayor's?
What is it now?
Your contingency.
What is that?
Usually it's gone before we spend it on. They rob it quick, huh?
It's being transferred to, if Rodney was here, it'd be his department.
Nobody claimed it, it's gone.
So the next is contractual services, and those are the appropriations that you give to Juvenile Justice Boys and Girls Club, RMA,
Who is RMA?
Ruidoso Midtown Association.
Okay.
Thank you.
Region 9, and then there's miscellaneous, there's an extra $15,500 in there in case anybody else comes asking for money that you approve, so that's at $123,500.
Why is
No.
the, sorry, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Why is the agency, why don't, I mean,
Should we pay for just the PIO services
PIO
out
contract.
of,
Not
so
just
that's separate
That's separate.
from what she.
Yes.
yes,
What she does for marketing.
yeah, that comes out of lodger's tax, and this one comes out of general fund. And then, the legal fees, that's Zach, it's at 160. Telephone, that's only the mayor's cell phone, and then travel and schools, we, increased that, because we've already spent more than the 10,000, we've already had moved money this year.
And that covers all of it going to wherever,
Yep.
whenever.
Includes the Molly, and we have some, they'll be having a Molly session, I believe, in July. Is that when it is? July?
Yes.
So where
on.
does, when we go to the municipal league functions there, what does that come out of?
That comes out of travel,
Travel
your
and
travel, like your hotels and all that comes out of travel and schools, but the registration fees comes out of the next line, training and development.
And any of the other things that we go to, like when we go down for, you and I went down for that municipal league meeting deal as a delegate or whatever. And then any other trainings that we have, that we send people to, that comes out of there also.
Yeah, and then like, the annual conference, anything like that.
Let me back up to contractual service for Region 9. What I remember that was for, Ron, was for the DWI program that they were going to provide whatever certificate that Linda Han had, is what my understanding was. Or what are we paying them for?
Judy, what are we paying,
You guys, that 7,500 looks like it's for Lincoln County Juvenile Justice.
yes, for the juvenile
But
justice?
you also have juvenile justice at 5,000.
There was an extra payment though this year, remember?
Because they're part of, they've kind of, Region 9 juvenile justice, or,
Spreading the boys and, what is it, the girls circle?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
What is it called?
Mind, body,
We
something?
might have
No,
we might have extra money in there, but Region 9 is running that program.
I'm going to go ahead. Can I take just a minute?
Sure, go.
I'm the chairman for, well, if Judge Bryant isn't there, I'm the chairman for the Juvenile Justice Board. And Wednesday, it come to light that the Ruidoso High School and Ruidoso Middle School are having major problems with vaping marijuana. And it's being laced. 4 times, just yesterday, a kid from the high school had to be, the ambulance was called and taken to the hospital. 2 weeks ago, on a Friday, 3 kids were taken to the hospital by their parents. Narcan was not used, but they're having a lot of trouble. And I don't have statistics. I've asked for them, but the school board is going to try to get some meat into when things like this happen, that these kids have to go to a program. They're needing training materials, Mayor, and nobody has said up because the village has marijuana shops. Now we're all in trouble. That has not come up, but I started thinking, is there any way that can we partner with the schools and see if we can help with materials to help educate these kids on vaping, marijuana, drugs, and help the schools and maybe have a little bit of money come out of the money that's coming from the rebates from the
Rebates,
cannabis.
they're
What-
taxes collected, but
I-
it's about 14 grand a month is what it was last month, wasn't it? Or last,
it was averaging 30.
it did, but it ain't been 30 in a long time.
I'll have to look,
I thought
but
I
it
saw-
it fluctuates.
Yeah, I
It
thought
seems
it-
like during the tourist months, we go up.
Of course.
But But when the base population is here, then it goes down. So it's
Yeah.
ranging anywhere between 14 to 30.
But, they're not buying it from those shops.
I-
You know
and-
that. And so it's a legal deal. So what, like DWI funds are collected? Is there, I mean, I don't have a problem trying to designate.
And I don't have the
portion to it.
facts for you. I just wanted to, with this being the budget, I just wanted to bring it up to y'all to see if maybe we couldn't partner and do something about this and be a positive effect. It's not our fault that parents are buying pot and maybe their kids are putting it in their vapes. I don't know how that works.
Mayor and council, I'm sorry. What we can do is, I can put this on our next joint board meeting, with the school district to have a conversation. And then the second thing we can do is take a look back at our agreements with juvenile justice in Region 9 and see if there's any allotments that are allowed internally to see if we even have to allocate more monies or if it's already part of our agreement. If not, we can maybe identify something, but we'll look at programs that are available first rather than.
Well, the schools are definitely, they're also looking, the Student Health-Based Center, Ashlyn McEwen is looking, as well as Victoria Bomer, the vice principal, and the disciplinarian.
And I do know that the cannabis licensing system has a program for if something like this does happen, you can tap into certain things, but I'm not familiar with the actual program requirements. We can bring those back and we'll take them to that joint board first and then bring any recommendations back to council.
Yeah, we need to get in front of this.
Well, it's done. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. The last 2 years on opening weekend at the track, we had kids, not at the jockey club, at Turf Club, that were working as bussers.
Yeah, I remember.
That we had to call emergency services, pick them up. They were in the bathroom and they were vaping. They're not buying that here. They're buying it from somebody illegally off the street. And so I don't know how you get it through people's heads. You don't buy a dog turd and give it to somebody and smoke it and then you smoke it. I mean, I don't know how you fix that. And nobody does. We've talked to people at the Drug Task Force. We've talked to people at the state, and they just say it's an inherent problem with society, and I agree. And we can educate, but they still do it.
And Mayor and Council will also speak with Bill Hansen on the DWI grant to see if there's any, if we're able to add anything about vaping on there. Usually it's strictly DWI, but at least we're going to check on it.
We get run over out there. Fortunately, our kids, we haven't had that issue. But and it's before they go to work, they're wanting to be high. And the next thing you know, they're passed out foaming at the mouth in the bathroom.
Well, and that's
And-
what happened. They're
yeah.
doing it at school, in the bathrooms.
And then they ask the kids, where do you get it? Where do you get it?
Well, and
And
they-
they get it from another kid, and then it gets clammed up. They don't go through the whole system.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have any stats.
Well, it's big, I bet you.
The disciplinarian said that this year it has gone up so much. And it just made me start thinking, I appreciate us at least talking about this and going forward, because just talking about it doesn't help our kids. And the school board they've got to get their policies to where these kids, instead of you're out of school for a day or two, no, we've got this program and this is where you're going to be for a day or two. And so everybody has to work together, but I do appreciate at least us talking about it.
Well, some of the things they've seen are long and skinny. If you don't know what it is, you wouldn't know. And the parents, a lot of times, because one of our friend's kids, they caught him vaping in the behind the house, and you can barely smell it. And he showed it to me, and he goes, "What do you think this is? It's about that long." And I said, "Is it a USB port thing? It looked like you plug it in your computer."
Yes.
He said, "No, this is the
They're
stuff
the new
that they're
Juul.
vaping with."
Yep.
They're the Juul consoles that they're starting to push out.
And so, parents have got to take that away, but how does the kid even get it? That's what I asked his dad, where did he get it?
Well, and there's going to be dealers out there the kids, they know where to go to get it. There's always those,
But,
Are they still doing the drug dog?
no,
No.
we don't have one.
you only get drug tested if you're an athlete, and it's only random
Yeah,
drug
because
testing.
when I was on the board, I mean, they would take a dog like
They did,
every couple of
yeah.
months and do a walk through the school.
Yeah.
No,
There's
we,
no drug dog anymore.
no, we got rid of the two, that we had. Chief knows all about that, and, but there's been discussion about getting something else, but not a attack type dog.
Yeah.
Something that can smell.
Just to identify it.
Yeah.
Right, but then we, I don't think this administration would have a problem, but the last one did. He didn't want us over there, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
And-
Becca Ferguson and the board, they're really coming together and they want to be on top of this. And so, thank you very much for just at least let us talk about it and get different avenues that maybe we can all work towards and it, just talking about it didn't get it done.
ma'am.
Just, it's like the housing. We can talk about it all day long about, yeah, boy, we need this. But this council has done something about it. And so I appreciate your hearing me out.
I was just saying that we just finished the selection of the DWI preventionist, and he did say that during the year, there wasn't a presence in the school system because Region 9 lost the preventionist, so maybe now that we've hired somebody, they can expand her duties. And she's scheduled to be at all the schools multiple times, so maybe that might help a little bit.
It might. Right now, it just seems that the JPO is not willing to say that we have a problem.
Is
Council-
this bleeding down to the middle school?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
they're seeing the same type of they get real lethargic and.
They're doing it on the bus, coming to school,
Oh, wow.
and then, at the middle school, they have purchased, wands, metal detector wands, because they can do that without any kind of,
Warrant.
probable cause, any of that. You can just go, come here, and they'll get them, and they usually stick them in their shoes. And the kids are coming in the door, and this is 6th, 7th, and 8th.
I know it, I know it.
But we're talking to all these mental health professionals, the judge, because he sees a lot of these things, and they're saying a lot of this is, if we could tie that into with the youth and come up with some kind of a program, because they said that the, whatever their clinical psychologists, whatever these people are, that they send the kids to, and I talked to two of them, I know them personally, and they said the kids show up to their meeting high. And we did a training this last week at the Jockey Club, and we sent 3 kids home immediately. They came in, their eyes were glazed over, they could barely get and their parents dropped them off. We were standing there welcoming them in. These are 15 and 16-year-old kids.
Oh, my God.
And so we called their parents and asked them, is he on medication? Is he on? She's like, no. I said, well, look at him. Does he look normal to you? And she said, what did you do? And he said, nothing. And then she got in the car, and that was all we saw of that. But, it's everywhere, and we do everything we can. If we catch a kid, I'll probably break all the rules. Let me smell your breath, that kind of deal.
Take them behind the neck.
Yeah, but it's rampant, and it's overrun here. And we hear from different organizations, but if we could spend a little money to help, but I don't know how we could put the mental health people, this next month, and the Insider's gonna write an article to try to address, talk about these things, and then some of the things that we can start looking at. But it's a big problem, it really is.
I appreciate it.
So let me go back to when I talked about Region 9 and that 7,500. That's where, how long have they lost their preventionists? Because that's where I was thinking some of this money was to provide for that on the DWI portion from the grant.
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Salas, the provincialist, that is paid from the DWI grant.
Through the grant,
Yes,
right?
because they did an RFP and they assistant one, right? It's an assistant, because Linda Hand's still
So
part-time.
that's where I'm getting at.
Yes.
So Linda Hand's gonna leave pretty soon here.
Yes.
And there's a certificate
Yes,
that 4 years ago, we told Brian Dooley, make sure that this person would be certified to replace Linda.
yes.
So the lady that had started with Region 9, her name's Mandy, and I can't think of her last
Mandy
name.
Mader.
Mandel.
No,
Oh, it's not.
Mandy Mater, isn't it? Something like that?
Mandy
Mandy
Mader.
Mader.
Yes.
She was working them, and then, I don't know, she was a retired teacher, and when she went back to work with Region 9, the demographics
right.
and the pay, so she quit.
Okay,
So she is the one that has, again, we're trying to negotiate with her to come back as a preventionist. She has half of the hours necessary for that certificate. She'll have 2 years to get it. So she has been selected. She was the only one that offered on the RFP. So he's gonna work with her. She was a teacher. She's ran all the
Right,
programs
right.
that, so he feels that maybe within the 2 years, she'll have that certificate. So that's who they're gonna start working with.
And Mayor and Council, with that DWI grant, each program has to have a prevention specialist, where you have to go and find one across the state, and there's not many.
No,
So
So
Judy, she'd be an independent contractor?
yes,
she is, yes.
through the DWI
through the
program.
Right.
So now that brings up the question, what is this $7,500 for?
It's Lincoln County Juvenile Justice, and it's for the
There's
girls.
juvenile
That's what I'm saying.
justice for $5,000.
It was
She's
double
gonna
counted.
Fix it up.
Right,
it was double counted probably.
yes.
There
In
was
here.
something else I had to add, though.
The 5,000, we've always given $5,000. 2 years ago, we gave 7,500. And I looked at the ledger, the other day, I looked at the ledger, and the Village of Ruidoso gave Lincoln County Juvenile Justice $7,500. So I
Okay, so
don't know
maybe it
what
was
this
switched here.
5,000.
Maybe it was switched, so.
Yeah.
7,500 needs to stay?
Yes, because you've already given us the 7,500.
Okay.
So it should still be 7,500 for juvenile justice, and then when all the material comes up and we add to that. But so let's say that's flipped, so what's the $5,000 to Region 9 for?
She thinks it's double
It's
entry.
just double counted.
Yes,
I probably saw a $7,500 payment
Yes.
and thought we were paying it two separate.
yes.
Yeah,
So you'll make sure to check on that.
Well, I paid both this year, though, I know that, and we were trying to
We
find
could
the
scratch
contract.
out Region 9.
Or add
No,
it to
you
the,
scratch out
Juvenile
juvenile
justice.
justice, $5,000.
Mayor and council,
Region 9 or whatever.
would you all allow us to go back and just take a look at the contracts, just to verify?
Okay.
Yeah,
I do
you're
know
just
I
gonna
paid both.
make sure it's 7,500,
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, the last item on the legislative budget is the rent of land, $5,700, and that's for the lease payment for Moon Mountain.
How long is that lease?
Mayor and council, that lease is 20 years long. We're actually in the,
Halfway through it?
we're moving towards the idea, it's only been about 6 years.
6 or 7 years.
Yes, sir, and
Tom did it. He was the one that signed it.
we're looking at renegotiating that lease to a 40-year economic development lease. We've been working with the Land Commission on that. We've submitted a letter, and there's 2 more hurdles that we have to go over in the next couple of weeks to work with them, but that will probably change to a 40-year economic development lease by the end of this year.
So Dick was talking about thinning. Do we get credit for the thinning against the lease payment, or?
We do not.
No.
or
No
that's
credit.
Separate?
Separate.
Okay.
We got a grant for that.
So could you explain the economic development lease, because before it was basically recreational?
Yes, sir. So what we're proposing is that it would still remain recreational. It would just be a development of Moon Mountain to enhance more recreation. So currently, we have the disc course on the area as well as the trails. What we would identify is a possibility of a third party coming in, and like we do with Winter Park, having something similar. There's very,
Way or something?
yes, sir. There's very tight restrictions from the Lands Commission and basically saying, hey, if you're going to do this, you need to make sure that you meet minimum mitigation. We don't want to tear down trees. We don't want, they want to protect that land. And so anything that we would do in that area would be protecting the land, but it would still enhance recreation. So some of the ideas that have come up, the mayor's discussed and talked about things like Spider Mountain, where you have the
Bicycles.
Yes, sir, where you have lifts that take you up to the top of the mountain. After that lift would take you up to the top, you can bike down using the current trails. There'd be other things that have been suggested, possible ropes courses that include the trees themselves. Smaller, like, they're called aerial parks, but basically it's structures that are 5 to 10 feet tall, maybe 12 feet, that are natural in nature that kids can climb on, that are safe, so that it just allows them to have more activities to do. And there's some other items that have been suggested, but right now we can't do that. With this change in lease opportunity, we would allow for more recreation to happen. It's been recommended, even in discussions with Mr. Dorgan, that there probably needs to be another area just because he's swamped and he's actually being impacted negatively right now. There's
Too much
a lot
business.
of people. Yep.
Yeah, how about
Yep.
that one?
Too much business.
Well, Tom went over there with us and pointed out some areas that's the shady side, that with just a little, he calls them magic carpets.
Yes.
And little snowmaking equipment right over there inside, that all these kids should just, that Robert always calls me and says, I got all these kids on these hills over here on the links. I've got them over at Schoolhouse Park and it's not safe, and that they could go to and for very cheap. They could bring their own little deal. You'd sit down at the bottom and not have a heart attack while the kids go up, and you're not, that deal, and then maybe sell hot chocolate and coffee or whatever. So that's part of the plan.
Yes, sir.
But you want to tell them the fly in the ointment?
Well, as of right now, I don't know yet.
Okay, so you just want to hold that one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, God, now you got us.
Well, it's just that this new guy, the land commissioner's like, I don't even know how y'all got this lease, because the village property's on the other side in here, but it's county. And so they don't know how we were able to get the land lease, even though when we did it with
Aubrey Dunn.
Aubrey Dunn,
Yes.
it was all went through legal and everything, so he's
So
like,
we've clarified some of that.
oh, you did
Yes, sir.
clarify that?
So the lease was able to be obtained because it was a municipal lease, and it was only for recreation at the time. If it turns into a business lease, they're suggesting that we require some of our LIDA funds to be involved in it. If it includes LIDA funds, then it would need to be within village limits.
So that would mean annexation.
Yes, sir. And so it wouldn't be our property, we'd still be leasing it, but it would at least be within the village limits to allow LIDA funds to be used in that area. We are discussing possibilities of not using LIDA funds at all and just going through the state through a government lease or through a economic development lease. But we're still working through that. I don't know if we would have to go that excessive route yet.
Yeah, okay.
So, but those are the things that we're doing. Right now, we're working through a 3D modeling of what that might look like. That's what the state is requiring of us to try and get to the next hurdle for the lease to transition. And so that's something that we're working with a third-party vendor on that did the trails. They have all of the data already, so it won't be anywhere near as expensive as if we had just tried to start this. And so we should have that hopefully here in the next 3 weeks to a month, and that 3D modeling will come back and we'll obviously show you all what that looks like, so.
Okay, I got just the idea of, if you could name it, I don't know if you can, a recreational economic development lease, because otherwise people will be knocking down the doors, there'll be picketers outside.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. What we're doing is,
They're thinking we're.
as part of our letter to the state, we're also drawing up a community engagement plan to show everyone what we would possibly be doing with the area. There's definitely concerns of, the whole reason the village took this over in the first place was to stop any development of homes or hotels or things
Christmas
of that
Mountain,
nature.
Christmas Town.
Yes, sir.
Christmas Village.
Yeah, Christmas Village.
And so what this 3D model modeling is actually the start of, is the engagement piece. And so we would build an informative campaign around it to say, this is what Moon Mountain would look like. This is the recreational facility that you're being, that will come into the area. We're staying natural and native. There isn't going to be this metal approach, that kind of thing. And so those are all of the requirements that the state's basically telling us. And so that's what we would be engaging the community first on before we ever get to, that would be the second hurdle before we get the lease.
So that's what's $5,700. There's always a big backstory.
Was that the long story short?
Sorry
There's,
about that.
behind every one of these, there's so much stuff that's being proposed or not.
Darren keeps trying to kick me when I ask a question.
No. Again, I make the joke, and that's why I said it yesterday. There is a lot of information that comes out, and it's just a shame. It doesn't cease to amaze me that our constituents have no idea what's going on.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, and we're not undermining, we're not sitting on our thumbs.
Hiding.
Stuff is going on.
We can enhance your engagement deal and just do coffee with the mayor or council member once a week if you want.
Well, that's why we have a show, you know.
Yeah, get it going. Vote early and vote often.
I have a feeling, though, that overall, most people don't take a great interest until it's in their backyard.
Exactly.
yeah.
No, that's exactly right.
Otherwise, they don't, if it's rolling and going, that's fine with me.
If it's my sewer, my road, yeah.
It's just like I said the other day, when I drive home and I go up Gatlin, that's why I see stuff going on that road. You see it on Sunny Slope, you see it over on Meacham, Sutter, it's just whatever, so.
Doesn't that lease increase by 5% each year?
I
There's a
believe it's,
percentage.
it's escalated every year, so. We negotiated the amount on it, so.
No pun intended.
700 for what, 600 acres?
640 acres. And then we have a separate lease for where the water tanks are at. That's like a 1 acre tract on there.
Heck of a deal.
And Mayor and Council, I will add one last item because I don't want this to be a surprise. We are looking at parking similar to Grindstone leveled. One of the things that we're doing is we're also working with, we'll be working with water and with emergency management. As there's flooding that comes down through that area, we're trying to identify a dual use in parking to be almost like a drainage and a filtering piece, not just an open piece of land. And so there is a burn scar on the back half of that where water washes down. I believe it's called a gully edge, or I'm not sure how it was identified. But so we'll be identifying, and we've already engaged the engineers to try and figure out if we can use that as a mitigation piece for flooding and for kind of like a catch-all. So we know that we can't violate any type of water issues and how that works. So we'll be working with both entities to see what that looks like.
And that's a big discussion in your joint meeting with school. That's a big deal.
So that, they're behind the high school then on the east side, we're talking.
We're trying to identify whatever, the engineers are gonna come back and let us know what they think is the best related to parking and flooding, and any type of mitigation piece. But the entirety of the area would be utilized for the
Whatever
recreation component. Yes, sir.
there.
Yes, sir.
Because that's where I think it's time to resurrect Rodney's parking lot on top of the hill.
I believe he recommended that over at, I saw plans for that.
That's part of the buffer zone.
Yes.
It was on the backside where JR lived. wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Right,
Yes,
right.
that one street there where you went in that.
That
He wanted parking over there.
Right, and I remember that because of the, what was it, Moon Mountain Mafia?
Militia.
Oh, yeah.
Militia.
Oh, my
Militia
gosh.
came up.
They were showing up.
that made some of them happy. They thought it, when I called them the Moon Mountain Militia,
Oh, they loved
because
it.
one of them was in a wheelchair and,
That was the minister, yes. Because he
Yeah.
came over here to,
oh, yeah, he was.
Oh, my gosh.
But that's part of that buffer zone.
We've already encroached in that buffer zone on the trail that was built.
Have we
there.
really?
Oh, yeah,
on the
big
west
time.
side. Off of,
So, because that's what me and Shippen were talking, you would have thought they would have went on the east side of the water tank.
Yeah.
But I mean, probably, it's on the west side
No
of the
way,
water
I haven't
tank.
even seen it.
And it's a beautiful trail, don't get me wrong. And the reason why I bring that up, Mayor, because my wife's really heavy into ADA compliance.
Yeah.
And that top loop that's up there, it's about a, I don't know, 3/4 loop. It meets all requirements. It's a beautiful view for wheelchair accessibility. That's basically what it is. If you're ever in Cloudcroft going up to their office, they got one of those there. It's all paved and real nice, but the view to, down into the canyon is great. But up here, it is, I mean, it's a 360 view. I encourage you all go hike it one
Yeah,
day,
I need to do
and
that.
it's really good. But like I said,
Off Gavilan, or you can go up, there's no parking on Bandera, is there?
no,
You got to go around Gavilan Canyon, and then there's ingress right there, and you'll see a bathroom and a little
What-
bit of
Oh, I
parking.
know where you.
How many miles is that, Rifle?
I want to say
It's
5.
5.2, the total acreage of the trails,
Is what?
5.2 miles.
5.2, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It has the potential to really maybe alleviate, because that's one of the goals that we've been working on, is because you know how busy it is in Midtown, spreading people out throughout the town
Yeah.
with Dorgan, and he's got summer stuff he's working on to increase that. If we could have some more of that over there.
Right.
But then have safe ingress and egress, and that's why it's key that we work with the schools. And then, they'll have to probably increase that security, the fence, that chain link fence.
And Mayor and Council, the village has been invited to participate in strategic planning and hearings today for budget for the school district. So we'll bring all of this back from what you're discussing, both with Moon Mountain. And this has already been discussions with our joint board, so we'll bring all of this back.
Good.
If that gets really popular, there's going to be a call for food vending in that area.
Yep.
A food
There'll
trailer,
be a food trailer that,
and that would be the place, so,
Yeah,
okay,
Okay?
go ahead.
poor
Okay,
Yvonne.
no, it's okay. We're moving on to the clerk's budget now. So, the first two, ads and publications and subscriptions and dues, that stayed the same, 4,500 and 1,500. Postage, we took it down a little bit from 600 to 500. General office supplies, we had 4,000 last year, but we've only spent almost 1,200, so we dropped that down to 1,500. We added a general supplies line to our budget this year because now we're doing the vehicles, the registration, and the stickers, so we can pay for that. Because we were thinking about having each department pay for their own stickers, it just got too confusing.
Yeah.
We'll just buy them in bulk. We don't have election supplies this year.
Yay.
Contractual services, that's Muni Code, destruction of records, Civic Plus, that's 3,500. Recording, we bumped that up to 1,500 because we have a lot of liens we need to release. They're only good for 4 years, and none of them had been released, but we have to pay to have them released.
So we have liens for what, water?
Yes.
Why don't we, what do you call it, what do you call it? When you-
Foreclosures?
Foreclosure on the lien, why aren't we doing
They're
that?
working with Zach
Yeah,
on all
we're
that.
gonna
So
do
we
that,
are.
But we still have to release the lien,
Okay,
so we needed more money to do that.
And Mayor, going
We
back
did
to
get
the-
some from Ron, and we
Going back to the election supplies, that was a huge increase for the election this year. They had to pay Dominion, and there was, and the county, they also,
Yeah, the county charged.
the last time we, it was like $9,000, and now it went up to like close to 18,000, so it doubled.
It cost more, and the county charged us this year, too.
well, and
Oh,
that's
I
what
bet
they're
they
doing,
do.
they're forcing,
Yes.
state is forcing it all back to the state level or to the county level to get municipalities out of it.
Yep. There's only 9
Preemption. they call it.
entities that are still with the election in March, so, out of all
So
of
they're
them.
trying to force
Yes.
this
Yep.
into the November election.
Yep.
Yes.
And they're doing the same with the courts, forcing the municipal courts out so that they have all their control. And then we would have to, just like with our forestry and thinning ordinances, they'd have to go be heard at the magistrate court level, and they're so booked up that, so it's, the state preemption is what it's called, and the league fights that all the time.
Oh, so they want to totally get rid of magistrate courts?
No, municipal.
Municipal, I'm
Yes.
sorry, municipal.
Yep,
Yeah, they want total control over everything.
yep.
Do we still have total destruction coming in?
Yeah.
It's not Total Destruction anymore. They got bought out by Vital Records Holdings. So that's who we have now.
And is that what your 3,500's for?
Yes, part of it. Yeah.
Man, that seems awful reasonable, all that.
Yeah, that's for that. And then, like codifying all the ordinances and everything on the website. Okay, and then telephones, it's just mine and Ginny's cell phone. It's 1,080. Travel in schools, 5,000. That's just for me and Ginny. Equipment maintenance, that 1,000, that's for anything in here, like the microphones or our scanners, just in case we need it. We haven't had to use it. And then software maintenance, that's Granicus, which is the Novus Agenda, and Laserfish, which is where we store all of our records. And that one's the big one. That one's 32,000.
How close are we to being current on storage, on all the scanning and everything?
Everything's scanned in.
Scanned in. Wasn't that many years ago, remember, that
Do.
Oh, man.
nobody wanted to do it, and a few retirements and some changes, so y'all are doing a
Good
great
job.
job.
Yeah, Jenny and Vaughn been doing an excellent job on that, making sure they're scanning all the documents.
Yeah.
And then Judy has her staff doing it also on the projects, so.
But now we're gonna try to
Well,
get
and
it,
that's
we're gonna try to get it more organized. That's what we're working on
And Mayor
now.
Crawford-
That's
Trying
the
to make it
hard
easier to
thing.
find
That's
because,
the hard thing. You can scan it all day long, but then,
Finding it.
and it depends on who put it
Exactly.
in
So you
and how
really
they
have to-
labeled it too. It's
yeah,
just,
you have
Yes,
to really be
Mayor
careful.
Crawford, members of the council, they have a system, it's different now that we can actually go in and find it, not take like 4 hours. Prior, they would put some sort of title on it and you couldn't, I mean, that's tough.
File not found.
Oh, my gosh.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, if I can,
Sorry.
can we go back and, I don't know, direct staff to look, because, we've got these phone bills showing up, and it's different on everyone's budget, and I know it came up about, well, what is this, what is this?
so
At
Robin is
300.
the one who entered all the numbers for phones.
All right, so Robin's listening, she'll know that she's gonna try to fleece that out and see, are we still paying for long distance?
So we're getting to the, admin budget and you're gonna see a
Okay.
different number on the
I'll
phone.
set
You
mute.
might wanna wait until after that
I'll be
one.
quiet.
It's usually what
That's
I
a
do.
big
I
one.
should probably practice.
But look at this, on CenturyLink, it's been 300, 320, 60, and this one, it's just 60.
That's what I'm saying.
Josh don't understand.
Because that's what they're charging just to the individual department.
Yeah,
They separated all out.
there's only 2 people.
All right, then,
You ready?
I'm ready.
Sure. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the admin budget. So, there is some money in overtime in that budget for the administrative assistant. Not much, just $2,500. Subscriptions and dues, that's $8,060, and that's for Leadership New Mexico, the Municipal League Managers Association, ICMA. We pay a Zoom membership. We have an Amazon Music membership for the executive suite. Flash vote.
What is
Cam-
flash vote, Eva?
Flash vote is a way that, something Carrie uses to do surveys.
Okay,
Like Survey Monkey and some
Yeah.
of those.
okay.
And then postage, 300. Office supplies, 2750. General supplies, so much comes out of this. That's gonna be everything for the whole building. Copy paper, water, coffee, all the food that we buy for these meetings.
We're the landlord for the village hall, so.
The postage machine supplies, it's like a lot of stuff comes out of that, so we have that at 24,000.
So,
Janitorial supplies.
on that note, you're providing copy paper and everything for P and Z, for
Yes.
forestry, for all the departments in there?
I believe on office supplies, I know we do for like the water, for here within the council chambers, the executive suite, and all the supplies for the janitorial, but paper, I believe,
Paper,
we do the bulk paper for
Beginning
the,
of the
yes,
To get a better price.
yes.
So
Buying in bulk
do
at
you,
the beginning of the year.
does administration charge for, administration fee towards those departments?
No.
You have an admin fee for each department,
We have an admin fee for the enterprise funds,
just
But
the
not-
enterprise funds.
But not
No.
these guys?
it's all general fund, with the exception of RJU and forestry, but they'll be gone. Forestry's losing.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's minimal. They pay for their own toners though,
For their
printers.
printers and all that,
But
okay.
we just buy the copy paper because we get a better price when we buy it by the
Well,
pound.
and it'd be too hard to track.
And we keep it at.
Yeah.
In most
warehouse and
departments
we
are-
move it over as we need it.
We do charge postage to the departments though.
Okay, that'll work.
In most of the departments, the main printer there in the hallway, they'll print to that machine. And then we have the executive printer over here in that used to be the old little conference room. And that's but we all share the same
Yeah.
printers,
Okay,
copy machines.
And then janitorial supplies, that's for all of Village Hall, and that's at 8,000. And then the utilities, this was put in by Robin, she got the estimate for it, 28,810. Fuel for 2 vehicles, 2,850. And then Ron has his contingency, 50,000.
You're the man, Ron.
He barely spent any this year, too.
You done man.
There's some that have came up for needed something, so then we'll take care of it, so.
Okay, now we know.
20 bags.
And then there's contractual services, and that's for outside legal fees when we use another attorney besides Zach to help us surveys and appraisals, that's at 10,000. And then professional services is title searches, website management, and our security system, and that's 15,000. Okay, and here's where I was talking about Counselor Hooker telephones, it's at 12,550, and that was something put in by Robin, so I'm thinking that's the phones for all of the.
Shortel system.
Right?
Well, yeah, when you look at Windstream, that's probably gonna be for the whole, village, right? 10,000?
Well, I don't know. I have no idea, but it would be nice to get it cleared up as to what CenturyLink does, Verizon, what do they do? Is that cell
Verizon
phones?
cell phones.
But you have $2,050 for how many phones?
1, 2, 3.
That seems a little excessive, maybe.
Wait, 2,050, what are we?
It says
Right there,
Verizon,
Verizon.
2,050.
Oh, I'm not seeing that.
Oh, the detail.
Page 10 on the detail.
Oh,
And then if you can tell us what Windstream is
it'd actually be 3 phones, because it would be the admin.
Yes.
But that's still, I
But,
couldn't
yeah.
fathom.
that's high.
2,000 a year.
And I know 500 for the one I carry is pretty high. They gave me the phone.
How much
That's where
was
they get you.
legislative, because you only have one in
So
there.
in the
What was-
clerks, ours is
Mayor and
double
council,
what legislative is.
if
for
you're okay, I'd like to work with Robin and do a full breakout of everything related to phones and costs, and maybe do a update on this to bring it back and explain it clearly.
Yeah.
And if we need to clean anything up, make any recommendations of things that have to go away, or of things that we have to combine, or anything else.
Because what we found is when we switched to VoIP, we still had DSL lines that we had to maintain for security systems, fire alarms. So we were maintaining those. But then when we cut lines, shut off lines, we found out that it went to some other department and they had to try to restore it. And then we had old voicemail that I was leaving voicemails on some people that was going to oblivion and it wasn't going to the new one. I think she's got all that figured out.
I think we redid our phone tree, and then I think we still need to just identify services linked back to that. And so I think we can work through it and bring you back something clean that'll either justify everything that we have here and/or clean up costs that shouldn't be there
And
anymore.
it
That
looked
ought to
like,
make Counselor Hooker happy.
Well, you know,
it looked like,
No, every little bit.
you get on it.
But we have the same question on every department. What is it?
Everyone.
Judy, that one phone in legislative was what, 520?
Yeah.
And then there was over 2,000 for 3 phones?
Ron
So
and,
what-
Ron and Mike are playing, what are those games you win cash on?
Unless Mike's,
They're still here.
Word search.
that's why when Mike, yeah,
Legislative, it's $520 for one
Right.
phone, and in
Yeah.
clerk, it's $1,080 for two phones.
okay, that's 520, that's, okay, I could see 520 but
Yeah, this one says 2,000
for 3 phones.
on this deal right here.
Yeah.
2050.
Under 52008.
Stand up.
Got it.
My phone says stand up.
Is all that Verizon?
Yes.
Verizon's all the mobile phone.
And we have a government account, right? That's what we have, so, I mean, but we'll look at the,
No,
We also have
RJU
hotspots that are on
pays
this.
Verizon for the meters too, right? Don't we have points in
We also
different
have
canyons and stuff? But that would come out of
Oh,
RJU.
hotspots, yeah.
Oh, the
Have to take them to
hotspots, yeah.
conferences.
hot-
Yeah,
yeah.
I just,
Hotspots again too, yeah.
was
I
that you,
kinda
Michael, who
remember
said that? Yeah.
when we were putting the meters
Yeah.
in.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
So that-
and it's just, I'm sure there's an answer. It's not
Yeah.
like anything is going on, but it should just be looked at.
pay, Verizon for that, or how
We pay Verizon for hotspots, tablets, phones. We'll do a breakout
Yeah.
and we'll bring it back.
But there was something on
Hotspots,
the
probably
meters that we were
charged
paying to the mobile phone company.
in
Because
the,
there was some canyon, like Paradise, they didn't get a strong enough signal, so they put kind of like a repeater or something in there so that it will bounce it out of there. And maybe I kind of remember that when we converted the meters, that they had to put those hotspots in.
I didn't think we paid for that. I thought we just paid our regular software maintenance with.
I don't, maybe we do, that may
We'll have to
be.
find out.
because I believe the Beacon use whatever service is, they're able to get the strongest signal, might be Verizon, might be AT&T, so it's different
I
ones.
we take it
Okay.
to conferences, Ginny and I, because sometimes the internet's so bogged down, you can't get onto your
Yeah.
computer.
Okay.
All right, we ready? Okay, so next is, where was I? Travel and schools,
Travel in schools.
12,550.
I don't have that number.
What do you have? Because
12,000.
I got 12,000.
Sorry,
And what is this?
that's
Travel?
just for travel and schools for Michael and Ron.
Got it.
And then the registration fees is the next line, $2,000. And then equipment rental, we pay for the postage machine, we rent that. We have 2 copiers, the big one in the hallway and then the one by our office. And then we put 1,500 extra for overages, so that's $24,800. Vehicle maintenance for 2 vehicles, $3,000. Building and property maintenance, we did bump that up because it was at 10,000, but we've already spent more than that, so we put it at 15,000. That's mostly like HVAC stuff that Oscar can't do.
Yep.
That's it.
At least we don't have that wonderful sewer smell that we used to have. Y'all remember that?
Oh, man.
Sometimes we do have it from the,
You're kidding, I don't want to hear about it.
okay.
This one was terrible, man. I kept looking at those ladies when I'd come into work. And I'm like,
Oh, always the lady.
well, they were the only ones there. I'm like, girls, come on now. That ain't us, it's the
Any
bathroom.
questions?
Thanks, Yvonne.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Good job, Yvonne.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Yvonne's doing several jobs.
Yeah. But we do have a couple of apps we're gonna look at for that in
For the administrative?
there.
Good.
Alrighty, you wanna talk about general fund revenues?
Hey, where's that?
Sure.
That's, under finance,
Okay,
and that's pages 1 through 4. So, I did put a little bit of an increase in GRT and some of the tax line items, not very much. as you know, this year we did receive the windfall, so I kind of wanted to stay conservative on some of the figures. So as we look through, there's all the taxes, and that really makes up the majority of the general fund's budget is GRT taxes and property taxes, as you all know. So in a lot of the other line items, one of the other things we do qualify because of our population, we do get the small cities assistance, and that's $90,000. That's towards the bottom of page 1. I don't, ooh,
The GRT, how much of how much was that special, the grocery store? Yes.
2 point something, 2.4 or something like that.
So is that why you lowered the GRT
For next year?
Yes.
next year? Okay, because that's not gonna be there.
And I really like to budget it low because the year that we were in COVID, we kind of had a couple months that were really bad, and then we picked up when everybody started traveling. So because of that, I tend to be conservative, and then after the first quarter,
You'll adjust it.
yeah, because then I'll start getting a better feel of what the revenues are gonna start coming in. And it's easier to add stuff we cut than to try to cut people out if the revenues don't come in.
Okay, and forgive me, the franchise tax, who pays that?
PNM, ZIA,
Windstream.
Windstream, TCBT, and then, of course, RJU.
Okay, so this project Cascade's doing?
Yes.
They're doing it on their own nickel?
Well, we're part of it. The Fed put some money in and then the state put some money in. We put in $2 million that we received on
Our
grants.
ARPA
went in around
funds?
$2 million.
Our ARPA funds.
Yep.
And so they're putting a lot of their own money in it. The one problem I always have with it is we don't have the as-bills where everything's at, because there was already infrastructure here that we had discovered that they didn't let us know, but we're getting the total product. Don't you think that's a little high on cannabis? 300? You think it's gonna go up?
It was 290 last year, and we're at 261 right now.
261 right now?
And we're, like I say, it seems like,
And this is as of March, end of March.
this is the end of March.
Yeah.
And it seems like in
So that's
April,
348.
April, May, and June, it seems like the distributions are
More?
more, I think, because that's when everybody's starting to come to town. So again, this is only the second full year
Right.
that we've had, so I feel pretty comfortable at 300,000. Again, if we exceed that, we can always adjust it and add more.
Because I know there's a couple that aren't doing very well. I
Oh,
just didn't know if they were gonna all be able to survive. I'm surprised they've all survived this long.
I am too. I thought more would be shut down already.
And Mayor and Council, just on that, I know when we first got here, you asked me about this when we were on the radio show, and it reduced about 10 from what you had originally seen to that point, and I think you're gonna see another reduction.
You mean in the amount of stores?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And so I think what you're starting to see statewide, and this is kind of what what our taxes are telling us and statewide tax, more stores are closing, but sales are increasing to those other entities, and what you're seeing is a small percentage increase on the actual cost of product. And so last year, at the beginning of the year, you're talking about, I think it was $38 a gram. Now you're talking about $62 a gram. You're probably gonna be
More
at
than a small
75.
increase.
You're gonna be talking more per gram.
And we're griping about the cost of your water bill.
So these are things that you're gonna start seeing.
Well, and I know the bigger ones are buying up the smaller ones,
oh,
that has more integration vertically, that they're able to grow and then produce, manufacture, and then retail.
How many stores do we have now?
At last count, it was 17. As the mayor mentioned, there were some that may not
Yeah.
last through the end of the year or may want to shut down. But I think you'll see, I actually think you'll either see this plateau slightly spike and then drop a little bit. But we'll
Okay.
see how that works out.
Thank you.
you'll notice that we don't have any grants in there because we weren't we didn't have any new grants coming in for 25 yet. So those will be adjusted through the quarterly budget adjustments. And then we'll move to licenses and permits. We stayed pretty flat on the business registrations and the liquor licenses. Most of them, they're due at the end of the year, I believe. So that's why we haven't seen the revenues coming in current year. Building permits might be a little bit low. I'm not sure. At 350, we're at 314 right now. So that might be a little bit conservative. And then I did bump up short-term rentals, but I'm not sure if maybe I should go higher on that one, because I know there were some changes that we're talking about with the fees and stuff, so.
I would
Yeah.
keep them as where they're at now and then see what those changes come up on. I think those recommendations will be made to council here in the next couple of months based on the timeline that we talked about for that subcommittee. And I think we'll need the year to actually acclimate to what that new process looks like.
But I definitely would like to see this, at least look at it. Thank you.
And then for charges and services, I kept them all pretty much the same, although we will be going into another season of swimming and summer recreation. I kept most of the amounts the same.
What's, Judy, what's on the convention center? 22, 23, they made 227,000. Was there something special that year?
Where's this at?
2022.
23,
No, go. No, maybe it is.
Last
Yeah, you're right there.
that would be
Oh,
their
right here.
rentals, and I'm trying to think in 23.
I can't think of.
When were they shut down there for, were they shut down? What did we do?
For COVID, we shut down.
But that.
No, but for construction and stuff, did we have a construction project this year that we shut down? Or they couldn't,
The air curtains?
My point is, the
Why is it-
budget's 67,000 less than what we made the prior year. And
Yeah.
this year, if you annualize it, we're gonna make 213,000. So should that budget be increased a little bit?
we can. Is this the year that we're gonna have them,
Well, 25 is when we're having that stuff.
Next year's the municipal conference.
we can bump it up if you like.
Do we have some big things coming in for next year?
I'm trying to think in 23 what we had. That would probably be a Bernadine question, more than, I don't recall anything out of the ordinary.
I just think there's some wiggle
Yeah.
room there.
And then we budget fines. I know the judges and them don't like us to budget fines, but we do tend to put a number in there.
In Mayor and Council, on that note, AJ with the Municipal League, he recommended not raising any of the court fines. We talked about the penalty assessment list as being able to increase it, and he said, don't even touch it. He said the administrative office of the courts, anytime you do anything with your municipal court, especially raising the fines, that'll give them some ammo to move forward and try to dissolve the municipal courts.
We were talking about raising speeding tickets.
Yes, and he said, don't even touch it.
Can of worms.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
highway robbery,
Oh, yes.
extortion, blackmail, whatever you wanna call it. The state's just going, watch this, we got you.
Yep.
It's squeezing you.
Yep, that's a pinching.
Judy, on the miscellaneous, rents,
That's a typo. It should be 250.
250? Okay, and then Rudos down fees,
That's based on their share of consolidated dispatch.
Yeah.
We are
75.
525 on the distribution.
And we're basing that off call volumes. That was the
No,
agreement?
that's the original, whatever the original agreement was.
Percentage.
Yes.
Percentage,
We
when
have
we're
two-
just with the downs. If the county was gonna come on, then we were gonna do the percentages by call volume.
That's right.
And we have, Mayor and Council, we have two different percentages. The other one, I believe, is 7129. There's two different ones on the JPA, so.
Yep.
The golf course lease, when is that up?
3 more years.
Okay.
Is that right?
No, I
Should
thought.
It should be up to quickly.
I
thought
gotta
it
let
was
them know by July
Yes,
to terminate in August.
in October 24 is the
Yes.
up from
Okay,
the
yeah, that's
5-year
right.
portion of it, or else it extends another 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
And it wasn't 100, but we went down to 50, right?
We had actually received a little,
But it's back.
But they,
Additional,
they
but-
paid us a little more. I'm not exactly sure why they paid us more, but
No.
we're budgeted for 50.
Yeah.
And we still don't know what the status is on the parking lot, whether or not they'll pay for it.
No, the split is not in this budget because I wasn't sure.
So you,
If we're
you
go-
picked up 100%?
we're going to
'Cause
visit
I'm
with
not
Robert
sure
Donaldson
how
on
much
that,
they're
so-
gonna pay. Once we know how much they're gonna pay, then I can pop it in.
That budgeted amount was the 300,000 from yesterday in Bernadine's budget that we completely have, and if it
So
is a
that's the
three-way
full
split.
amount.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's rents and royalties? 46,100.
110.
The Verizon tower lease, it's also, I just looked at it this morning too. I can't think.
Where does
Oh, we did, get, this year, we got some of the rentals from the, movies, Boys and Girls Club, the rental of Horton. Who else pays us
What
rent?
about Dorgan's rental?
Oh, yeah,
What-
Dorgan, I believe those are most of them.
Because I want to say Dorgan is the biggest chunk out of it for the rental.
Well, you would think
Well,
so.
I wouldn't, he has a flat fee, and the flat fee that he pays isn't even, it's more than what this amount is, so I don't think it would be included in this item. We'd have to double check.
Let me pull up Encode.
And then he
It's a
pays,
flat fee, and then there's a percentage of
Yeah.
his ticket sales.
Yes, sir.
And it's
Yes.
always been like 200,000 or something.
There's a flat fee that he pays for Winter Park, and that's 150,000 a year. And then anything outside of that, he pays a percentage based, just as you mentioned, sir, Mayor Pro Temp, on ticket sales off of the coaster, and then any
Concessions.
summer piece in the concessions, yes, sir.
Is he paying for the water?
Yes.
He has a contractual agreement for water, yes, sir.
Okay. We've got a meter out there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's always been there. Did we order the sod yet?
Working with Matt and T-Bone to make sure they're getting that in. I'm not sure if we've ordered it or not.
Matthew's on. Matthew, did
They
you
were
order the
getting, they were
sod?
getting bids on it or pricing
Yes, sir.
on it and stuff.
Are we going to do security?
Yeah. And then split it.
Let me,
third to
That's
third
all
to
right. Keep going, Judy.
So what?
I was just looking up the,
third.
what's
Third
in
to
there.
third to third
Okay.
on the, with all of them that we do it. And then, but the sod, once we get the sod put in, then it's back to this is what it has to be returned at, because for so many years he'd just throw
Yep,
seed
exactly.
out there.
And, it's also the tower rent on Horton.
Oh, yeah.
And this.
And that's like 70, let's see, no, Mockingham is like 4,000 a month. Boys and Girls Club, there's another, Boys and Girls Club.
You talking about 211 or are we talking about
The
100?
the rents and royalties that,
Oh, rents and royalties,
that
okay.
Counselor Corey was asking about.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all the rentals we have.
Well, that answers it. Thank you.
And so where are the
Yeah, where's
houses? The houses, Mutual Meadows?
That's in affordable housing rental. That's a different fund, 508.
Okay.
So that the money stays in that enterprise fund, so that if we have to replace washer and dryer or mobile home or whatever, it kind of is sitting there to kind of grow.
So there's a separate budget.
And it's treated like an enterprise fund.
And that's the trust fund, correct? The housing trust fund?
No, the housing
also
trust fund is
portion.
actually separated from the rental. That way we don't commingle the monies. And then I can always make sure that we keep $1 million in the housing trust
Housing trust,
Yep,
and pay it back.
yep.
good.
And then, of course, there's the admin fees from all the funds. So if we move to page 13, this is the finance department.
Judy, did you want to mention the reserve requirement?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. And I've actually been looking for it. I know, and I'm not exactly sure when you all passed that, but state statute requires you to have 1/12, which is 8%. But at some point, you all decided to do an additional 1/12
Yep.
for 2/12 for a total of 16%. Since I've been here, we have never gone into those reserves. So we were wondering, a lot of times going forward, that most of the departments are researching a lot of grants. Sometimes they don't know what the match percentage is. It could be 25%, it could be 10. And if they're asking for a $3 million grant or something, that could be a lot of money that maybe we don't have the extra cash in the budget. So I was wondering if maybe we might want to kick around an idea that that additional 8% that you all had reserved for emergencies, if we could actually tweak the use and use it for grant matches that come up, any unexpected, big piece of equipment goes down due to some kind of emergency or something, if that might be a way that we can tap into that money instead of trying to cut something out of the budget in order to take on these one-time things that come up. I know a lot of, it's kind of hard for me to try to keep track, like, when they went for the street grants, it's matches, I think it was 250 for one and, another 100,000, and then fire was going for some vehicles or something, and their match was 120, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, how am I gonna come up with 500,000 in 1 year for grant matches? So that was just an idea that we were talking about. Or if we needed a housing, something, a piece of property came up for affordable housing and the trust didn't have enough money, we could tap into that reserve in order to come up with the funds.
Or water rights?
Or water rights or anything that was totally out of the ordinary that we had no clue that it was coming up.
So you're wanting to tap into the extra reserve?
The extra 8%, not the 12, the extra 8% that we have.
When was that increase?
I've been researching that, and I haven't been able to find the ordinance.
It was after.
Or the resolution of
You guys
that.
started the 1/12, and I remember that was a big deal when I got on, with Stoddard, and I think it was
It was
that
shortly
year,
after that that. we
right
went
in there
double
that.
I've been looking in
What prompted that?
2009 or 10. I was thinking, would that have been the year? That's where I've been looking, and I haven't been able to find it.
After I got on the council.
No, it's been there longer.
No,
been there.
when I started, they told me that
Prior.
there was an extra 8%, but I haven't been able to find the resolution
Well,
or,
part of the deal was, we were 10 million out of round on our budget.
Yeah.
Whenever, Joe, you'd been on, Joe and I got
there.
on, we were 10 million out of round. We were missing $2 million during the
you had
Little
just
Bear
had the
fires
flood, the freeze,
and
and the
all of those
fire.
things. So we were trying to shore up stuff because we were going to go after grants and just trying to have more stability. But, and I remember a conversation back then was, how do we get our matching funds?
Yes.
And so I don't know if that was part of that, if this is,
It was a combination of it because that's where we got those bad audits.
yes.
And we were building up our rating,
Yes.
trying to show, okay, we're saving a little
With
there.
that, Would that
extra.
impact the bond rating?
No, because as long as we show that our cash balance is growing and that we're meeting our needs, we're good.
Because I remember that discussion.
12%, is that by state statute?
That state statute.
1/12
the
is state
1/12
statute. You
is-
have to have that on
For
reserve.
But I
municipalities.
remember doubling that up or bumping it up, but you're right, it was to
Compelling reason.
to have for, wow, I mean, we were sinking back then, so, or we sunk, I should say.
If I remember correctly, it'd be somewhere around 2010 or 11.
10 or 11,
That's,
okay.
that, you're right, Joe, I'm thinking
But
that.
it was 1/12 cent.
But to answer your question, I think that that would be good use of that.
I do too.
To match
Yeah.
grants. And then, you know, one of the things that the municipal league has done is legislation that was passed, that there were $70 million set aside for assistance on grant matching that we need to see if we can qualify for, because there's some communities don't have anything. But that, I think that would be a good use of it, because you're always having to pull it out of one hat or the
Yes.
other.
Yes.
Whenever we find a deal, just like on the property that
Yep.
came available. You know, and there's other things like that, because there's not making any more property. And so there's some things that we can take advantage of because they're gonna be coming open, and that'll be a discussion at that time. Is that something we wanna do? On the long range, and that's some of the things that we're looking at on the comprehensive plan update, really reaching out, what do we want to control growth, build out of some of the infrastructure that we have, reclaiming dilapidated areas, things of that nature, but what do we want to look like? And that's a big discussion.
Yep.
That we'll have to have a planner and some people really walk us through that. But that's kind of where we could pull that money, but I think that's a good idea.
And then if we don't have any needs, it just rolls back in and it gets bigger the next year.
Remind us what the balance is of that?
Of the general fund cash balance?
No, of your savings.
The 8%?
Your reserves.
Oh, my
reserves.
reserve is like 2.1 million? Something like that. Because it's based on your budgeted expenditures in the general fund.
That 1/12 will stay, so it's more
Yep.
like $1 million or just shy of
So
$1
we
million.
usually hold an extra million in reserve
Right. Off of that.
off of
Okay.
that we tend not to use, but we probably should be using it
But
for,
no.
for these one things.
What's the legislative protocol to make this change? Does it?
I believe Mayor,
First, I gotta find if it was a resolution or an ordinance or if it was just a budgetary
Decision.
request.
I think it was almost a budget, if I
That's
remember
what I
right.
recall.
That it
Oh.
was
Just
direct
the-
staff too.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I'm pretty
My
sure
memory,
that's
I
what
can't
it
remember
was.
what
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Corey, we'll look into that. We'll start researching that and see.
Yeah, I'd love to read the minutes of whatever meeting that was to see if there was any background on it, but.
I know that was in place when I started in 2013, it was already in place.
So if it's not, then maybe, would we just put it as a part of the budget resolution, or would we just, how would we,
We may just do a separate resolution on it, probably be the best.
okay, all right,
That'd be the easiest way to go.
That'd leave a good trail
Yes.
to.
Yes.
Okay. And we probably want to just say that if we're going to cut into it, maybe we just come and ask you all to, I don't know how you would do that.
And then we'll get with Zach on the verbiage, and it'll be used for grants and whatever else
Okay.
we want to dedicate
Okay.
those funds to.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Now I'm looking through resolutions right now, so back in 2010 anyway.
Yeah, I looked in 2009 and I wasn't finding anything.
So Judy, I know you've told me, and I've forgotten already, the lodger's tax allocation is a percentage?
Are you talking between,
The transfer to general fund from
it's
lodgers?
admin, it's an admin fee?
Okay. The 130,000?
Yes,
So is that a percentage or a flat
yes,
dollar?
5, I believe they're 5%. We could by statute, we could do 10, but I think we do only 5. If we go to page 13, this is the finance budget. Pretty much, everything stayed the same. We did go up a little bit on postage, for mailing out our checks, and we did reduce some of the office supplies. There is one computer in the non-cap. One of my, if we do get the new assistant finance director, then they'll need a computer. Our contractual, this year, on our general obligation bonds, we always have to do an arbitrage calculation. That's beyond my scope. So we have a company that comes and does that for us. It ranges between $3,000 and $5,000 every year. The annual audit contract's at $51,000.
Who's the auditor?
Patillo, Brown and Hill, Chris
Chris.
Gardner.
He's got what, 1 more year? 2 more years?
Since it's 10 years, but he's only been with Patillo, Brown and Hill 3, so we have 7, I believe.
Where are they out of?
Albuquerque, Las Cruces, and Lubbock, I believe Lubbock. The telephone for us is at $3,150, and then travels and schools is at $3,000.
You had a big budget for professional services last year. 50.
We were gonna get a financial advisor to look at some of our levels of services, but we just never did. So we didn't spend it.
We couldn't find anybody really on the scope of work that we were looking at to even attempt to contract with, so.
And then through the rate analysis, and again, it's kind of changed since they've told us. We were told that the spreadsheet that they use for the rate analysis, we could get a copy and adapt it to like Parks and Rec and try to come up with a level of service. But that conversation has kind of changed to where we might not be able to use their spreadsheet and stuff. So we'll still in the future probably look at a financial advisor. That's been on one of my goals from the comprehensive plan, is to do some kind of 5 or 10-year financial analysis of the village in total.
Get some outside expertise.
Yes.
As soon as we can find somebody that can do that for us.
On the rate study, Ron, I'm curious, did they do a look back? Did they take the last rate study and see
How it affected?
closely we followed it, or?
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Corey, the rate study was done in 2014 is when we adopted at that time, but they looked at all that. Judy provided them all the documents from the prior rate study and all the financials, everything with all the departments that were included in the rate analysis study.
I don't think they looked to see if we kept it going. I think they just took the data.
That's what I was
Right.
asking.
Yeah.
Because at that time, it showed whenever we did the rate study in 2014, the sewer was subsidizing the water. We were selling water for less than we were producing it. And when we did the rate study in 2014, the water was subsidizing the sewer. Because we didn't touch the sewer at the time. We just did water in
And
2014.
This new study, they're all standalone?
Yes.
Okay.
All of the utilities are part of this rate analysis.
Because, yeah, we didn't have solid waste or forestry or any of that, and it was just water and wastewater. Didn't even have the treatment plant on that 14.
And if you remember, the CPI went nuts, what was that, 2 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
we had
did-
quite a bit of, our GRT was exceptionally high, all of that stuff. and we were setting records. So we chose to hold our rate instead of following the CPI. that
We
move
did
up.
just a small increase instead of the full amount.
Yeah, still the full amount
And then we even gave back $17
on the
on the
wastewater treatment plant.
wastewater treatment.
Yep.
Going forward, software maintenance, that's for debt book. There was 2 new financial statutes passed concerning leases. You can't just expense them in anymore. Now you got to capitalize them and draw them out. And also on the software subscriptions, you have to capitalize them instead of just expensing them in the current year. So I've been doing those because I know how to do them for years and the debt. So in anticipation of me eventually passing the torch, we got some software that'll keep it historically, so that anybody that comes in, they'll have, this computer system will put out all the footnotes that they need for the audit report, so they won't have to think about it or know how to write them or anything like that. It'll spit it out for them. So that's what the increase in the software is. That one is about 19,000, and then the other 2,000 is just for my audit work paper software that I use with Chris. We use the same program, so I do the worksheets, and then I just drop my file into his software, and he does his testing and stuff, and that's how we create the financial statements, so.
It's pretty sharp.
And that takes a lot on that software now with the, doing the new software for testing all the softwares that we're purchasing, and it's a lot.
Yeah, it's
Man,
ridiculous what they're
Oh,
asking us
Well,
to
is
do.
that on like security protocols and stuff built into the software?
No, it's just that, like the MuniRes software.
Uh-huh.
You know how you pay 19,000 for the software maintenance? Now you have to capitalize it as an asset, so then now you have to depreciate it. And then you have to figure out the accrued interest on the lease so that you can record it in your financial statements.
it is crazy.
It is.
Oh,
Is that a Gatsby requirement?
yes.
GASB, they did it on the leases and the subscription. They just want us to be full accrual is what they're kind of moving us to be like businesses so that you can compare a business, a corporation to a municipality. So they're trying to make us FASB. And so you're getting all these changes and it's kind of hard for these small municipalities that don't have that kind of expertise or that understanding to do all this stuff. So it's just kind of making it hard on a lot of the municipalities. So they're coming out with a lot of software programs that can do a lot of the entries, keep track of your leases, determine whether or not they are capitalized or not, or so.
Yeah, FASB did the leases a couple of years ago.
And we did it 2 years ago.
It was so hard to calculate that,
Mm-hmm.
and then it ended up the way we recorded it on the balance sheet, it was meaningless.
It-
We had an asset and a liability in there.
Oh, yes,
And they
exactly.
offset each other. So
Yes.
it's like, yeah, it doesn't
So we had to
make
buy
any-
software, purchase software just to be able to comply with that.
Calculate it.
Yes. So, and then that way, it'll always stay with the village. You'll have a historical perspective. You'll see exactly what I recorded, what I didn't, and then going forward, that same person can keep on with the trend and book it the same way. Instead of me trying to hand off a spreadsheet, and if somebody doesn't know what that spreadsheet does or where the formulas are, they could really mess it up. So we're trying to avoid all that. So in a nutshell, that was finance. Any questions?
Straightforward.
We'll move on to capital projects / purchasing. We did come down a little bit on ads and publications. We went down to $6,000. Subscriptions and dues stayed the same. Now that Levi's on, we're getting him trained up, and we're going to have him start doing some professional dues and organizations to get him exposed a little more to project management. He's been doing really good for us since he's been here. Laundry and uniforms stayed the same. General office supplies went down a little bit. Non-cap just if he needs any kind of tools or any kind of, I'm not sure what a project manager needs, a tape measure or something like that, whatever he needs. Fuel for 2 vehicles at 3,000. And then we moved down to travel in schools. We did 2,500. And for the training and development, 2,000. And then vehicle maintenance on the 2 vehicles at 2,000, and then the software maintenance at 10,000. The next department is IT. And let's see where the increases are. This is where a lot of the internet is paid for. 333, you'll see, in account 51021. We do buy spare computers, monitors, and other parts. We buy them out of IT, but when we deploy them to a particular department, we'll expense it through that department. Fuel for his vehicle, Mr. Andrews' vehicle, stayed the same. We do have a contingency line in case something happens with the computers or anything at $15,000. And then, of course, the contract with Systems MD, 162,600, and that's account number 52,000. We do have some money for training and travel. I would like to get Mr. Andrew, we want to visit with Systems MD because they really like him, and get their suggestion on some of the classes that Andrew might be able to take,
Nice.
like networking or Cisco or something, so that we can bring him up, and hopefully maybe we can train him up to where he can be an IT director for us or something like that.
Yes.
Is he gonna have to sign a contract?
Yes, oh, yes, he'll sign a
I was gonna
contract.
say, train him up to do what?
Yeah, no, we would sign a contract with him.
I've educated more people out the door.
Yeah,
Yep.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. But you get a Christmas card.
so,
Yeah.
we were gonna get with, Systems MD to just see what kind of trainings might be beneficial for him.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's
Because everybody loves Andrew.
They never make us sign a contract.
And so then down here, we have internet, 33,000, 333,000. So, see, that one's even different than the other things that we've seen. So what?
We pay the internet for everybody.
Yeah, I know, but the other departments, we had figures in there for that, so that's part of what you're gonna have to get clarity on.
The Systems MD, we were talking about like them making a recommendation on going to the cloud. Does that all fall under the scope of their contract, or are we having to pay extra to get?
No, that kind of falls under their contract. If we do have a special need, like when we were moving to Horton, that was outside their contract, so we would have a task order or a side agreement. But because they're in the know, and they deal with other municipalities, other state agencies, they tend to give us a lot of free knowledge. So that's good with them. And then the equipment maintenance, 56,000, it's all for the phones. We need to start looking at a scope of work to replace our phones, to see how departments want, or if we want to move to just cell phones or whatever. We probably need to look at that in total as a village, to see what we're doing with that. And then, of course, our software maintenance, these are all our software programs. Adobe's, the Esri, Microsoft 365. We do have some network equipment in the budget at 25,000. And then, of course, we got to look at, and I want to sit down with Systems MD, and I know Mike has a lot of experience in IT, and Ron, and talk about the server upgrades, where we want to have them, exactly so that we all know what's going on. In addition to what we had talked about with the 365 and moving to the cloud, we'll have that discussion. Right now, we have it in the budget as 434,000. However, I think we need to get a little bit better handle on everything that's going on. So we'll be having those discussions with Systems MD within the next couple of months.
Judy, just to go back to page 40, the ShoreTel phone support, Unitrends, that's all, is that all backups for all of our,
Servers,
okay.
So on that, Microsoft 365, you got that in there, 63, but you also had it also, if we went to the cloud, that there was also a purchase of.
yeah, so
Microsoft
that
365.
number would come off if we went with the cloud one. So we're already paying a portion of it. But I think we gotta sit down and really look at it to make sure that it's in our best interest before we pull the switch and go full scale. I want to make sure that there's a lot of us working together, using all our heads to see what might be the best thing for us, so. Any other questions on IT? And then the next page is just where we pay out our insurance, and right now, the insurance allocation for general property auto for the general fund is $396, and then workers' comp's at $45,000, so for a total of $441,280. And then the next page is our transfers out. These are for the subsidies to the streets, and right now, to the radio station, and there's one revenue bond that we pay out of general fund at $91,000. The only other question I have is, right now, we're in a rebuilding phase of the airport. So, based on his current levels, without the truck, and he asked for something else.
There was three things.
There was three things.
Mower, truck.
And a spill kit.
Spill
Yeah,
kit.
the spill kit.
So right now, he would be out of balance, almost 500,000 is what we would have to pay out of the general fund. That figure's not in here, but that will be coming. Is that the way we want to go, right? Is that general fund will subsidize the airport until they're up and running?
You don't have to.
Yeah.
There's no other option.
And then we'll have to double check on the revenues to make sure that we're collecting and making as much money as we can off those amounts. So,
Revenue streams that we're developing.
yes, and stuff.
Well,
So,
and our current leases.
Are
Yes.
we handling the accounting here, or is that done out at the airport?
we bill the hangar leases and the land leases. However, all their gas sales and everything go through, over there through AvFuel. And then, so
I remember
AvFuel,
years ago, we had problems because no one was double checking their numbers.
Gas evaporation.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
And Mayor and Council, we usually take a really good look at that, especially now at the advisory board. So, our team has done, even financial presentations to the board, so we're pretty in-depth on that, minus the lease knowledge, but we'll get a handle of that in the next couple.
It seemed like maybe Lee needed a little bit of, I know this is his first time to go through our budget process, but this is the time for him to ask for things, and there was nothing he asked for. So, I think we need to.
And we both Braun and I have had a conversation about this, and we'll be addressing that moving forward and trying to build that up as best we can.
Because most everything's going through grant applications that we're working on right now. For the
But
new
you
stuff.
sense the frustration. Okay.
The next page in your book is page 88. This is the magistrate court. Their revenues are set at $425,592. This year, we will have to go and renegotiate with AOC because in the original agreement, we were only planning on borrowing one time for the court to build it. Remember, we had to do the
Yes.
extra two? When I was looking at the debt service this year, we never went back and asked them to increase their rent for the additional debt service payment that we'll have to start paying next year. So we'll still have to call and set up a meeting with Jason because they were only, the rent that's set now is only paying for the one loan. We'll have to go back and renegotiate an additional amount for the second loan.
Well, this is because of they changed their design 2 or 3 times in the building
That's what I
expenses.
thought.
We did sit down and we did have conversations with them about that their rents were gonna be increased to cover that. And we
Right.
didn't codify that in any manner?
And Mayor Crawford, members of the council, we took that to council several times, and then we did the last when we had bond sale, and that should have all been done, but we'll get
I don't see
back
how
with
it
Jason.
wasn't.
Yeah.
To get that, we had to jump
Oh, yes.
a lot of hurdles and go across bridges.
Yeah, he came back to council, make the presentation, later admitting that they were, lagging their feet.
Yeah.
That they wouldn't cost us a dime.
Yeah.
And we need to get Chris Muirhead also with us, because he's our bond attorney, so.
How that got dropped.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, of course, we did set aside some money for utilities and property or building maintenance at $10,000, and then their debt service payments are $315,000 for the year. And then, of course, are the next debt service funds. This is the GRT revenue bond that is paid out of the general fund. It's $91,300 this year.
What page are we on, Judy? I'm sorry.
Oh, 93.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
She ain't messing around.
Right? We want to get out of here.
How are you holding up?
Oh, my back's killing. I'm sitting down, not being able to get up. And then the next debt service on 95 is the NMFA loans. We have the fire truck loan, $90,074,000. This will be the last year. We'll finally pay off that note. That was for the 2 fire trucks. And then the lodger's tax for the convention center remodel at $115,042. And then, of course, from the magistrate court at $315,100. So we'll be getting rid of one of those loans this year in 25. And then the next page just breaks out the principal and interest of those loans. You'll see for magistrate court, there's the first loan and then the second loan. And then the next page, number 97, is all our GEO bonds. Property taxes based off, the values are $1,009,000. And then the next page gives out all the series principal and interest payments. 2014 was the 10th year of our first issue in 2014, so in 24 we paid off that first issue, so it's pretty cool. And then, if you keep on going back, page 116, this is the Affordable Housing Rental Enterprise Fund. This is where the Rock Houses and 1114 Meacham and soon 603 Meacham will be housed,
And Meacham Meadows.
and Meacham Meadows.
It goes into this too?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Anything that we rent out as far as affordable housing is captured in this fund. So right now, I probably have the rental amount low because it fluctuates as people come in and out and stuff. So I probably need to go and revise it during the
Yeah,
year.
I was really kind of disappointed. It seemed very
Why
low.
was the budget so high last year, Judy? Were you expecting more units to come?
I thought they were
online?
gonna be a little bit higher, but they're not. And we probably, at some point, me, Mike, and Ron probably need to sit down with Kylie and exactly see what each mobile home is going for, because I know when we were building it, we had a spreadsheet that would take the rent, a portion of it was gonna be set aside for replacement. Another portion of the rent was gonna be, to pay,
Like
to go back to the Affordable Housing Trust, and then another portion was gonna do something
Maintenance?
else.
Wasn't it something?
Maintenance
for
or something like that.
Maintenance,
and-
yes.
And we haven't been doing that, so I just need to sit down and we probably need to look at that. I have all the records, it's just a matter of knowing which house is what dollar value so that we can pop it in to that calculation so I can come up with the amounts that need to be in those particular type of reserves.
Those rents, are they coming directly to the village or are they going through Hathaway?
No, they're going through Hathaway, and then they are the property managers, so any maintenance or anything like that is deducted off the rents, and then we get a net check.
Okay.
And that's 20%, is it?
I am not sure what the calculation is,
Remember.
but it
As far as
seems
the
like what we pay is not for what is cheap compared to what she handles. 20%, so.
So the maintenance and everything has already been taken out of this, so this, okay.
Net.
So that number for this year, Judy, looks a little low.
Yeah, it's probably low.
Okay.
What is our average rent over there? I've totally lost it. Was it 1,100 or was it 1,300?
I don't.
I think it starts, Mayor, about $850, $900 for the, it goes up to
Like
1,000.
some of them are
Yes.
1,000,
Yeah.
but I can't tell when I get the property statements. It just says, rental income, X amount of dollars. It doesn't say
You don't know how many
spot one,
two-bedroom
spot two, yeah, and it doesn't say 3-bedroom or that's why I said we probably need to get with Kylie
Yes.
to figure that out.
Yeah,
So did you budget for 603?
breakdown.
No,
No.
no, this is just 1114
Just what we
Meacham
have.
and the rock houses and those 3 houses
Yeah, we don't have any income budgeted yet for 603.
for the new mobile,
You
manufactured
just have
homes.
the 3 on there now.
Just those 3.
If you're going back to her, is there any way to see about looking at the demographics of who all's in there?
We took
And I-
notes yesterday on
Okay.
exactly what you commented on. I think Councilmember Eby also asked about clarifying that as well, and so we'll be asking that. We
Yeah,
have
I mean,
some-
I'm not saying like who they are, but what do they do?
I think it's important for us to know so
Because
that
then
we
that
can
goes back
tout
to
it.
when the state or people are asking, hey, how did this work out for you? Well, look, so many people are in the food service industry, so
Oh.
many people are teachers, so many, or they could all
Absolutely.
be people working in Captain. I mean, we don't know.
And Mayor and Council, with 603, what we're doing is, because it's workforce housing, we've kind of had those specifications of people that are working within the village limits qualify. And so those are going to be things that we're going to have to document as well. So they'll be listed out.
Will 603 have means testing?
Have what?
It is not
Means
connected to
testing.
AMI, so we can rent to whoever.
Like low to moderate
that
income.
would be there, so there is no income
Oh,
tied
income.
to the means. And that's because it is all funds directly given from the state.
Yeah, and we don't have, no HUD, we're not HUD or any of that stuff.
But how do we prevent someone just getting cheap rent that doesn't really need?
That's where we go through the professionals over here. When we went out for the RFP, there were certain things that we listed that must be showing proof of income. And there is a means testing. They have to make sure that their expenses to their income is at whatever percent, remember, and the rent has to be.
They don't want to be at that, over that, less than that 30% where they're, you at least want to have 30% of your income, so pay for the rent, so.
So it's, if somebody's making, it's not affordable housing, so that they don't have to make below certain amounts of money.
It's not like a Title IX.
Yes.
That's right.
And this is meant to be some place for people to go and hopefully step through eventually.
And as we found out, we have people that are trying to get in now that are even regular employees of the village. But we've had nurses, we've had teachers, we've had a significant number of local professionals that haven't been able to find housing that have actually turned down jobs because of that.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to transition into these.
What else, Judy?
And then we did budget some monies for professional fees, maintenance, and utilities. We do have the situation where utilities are in the renters' names. However, if they move out, the utilities go back to our name. So we just set aside some money in case those situations ever happened. So that's the rental part of affordable housing. You won't see the trust part in the budget yet because that's all based on rollovers, because we're actually building 603 right now. So that will come in the first budget adjustment in 25, in July. The next fund is 132. This is just the holding fund where we pay out all the insurances. The enterprise funds and the general fund pay into their portion of what the insurance is, so you'll see the money coming in. And then you'll see that workers' comp for the village, total premium this year is gonna be $75,340, and the other insurances, general liability, property, police, everything, is $796,860, and that's page 133.
The workers' comp came down, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we, at the league on the self-insurance fund, that was one of the things, because building comprehensive and all that's going way up.
So just a FYI to keep in the back of your head, when we did, when I was going through this, I did reconcile the snow removal and the McBride fire. So we will be rolling over in July $123,000 of snow removal money. So this year, if we need to buy more plows or anything, we'll have that money set aside. We did get payments on the McBride disaster for debris removal. We got $333,000, which represents, let me get the figures right here. I had put them in here.
A lot of hard work from Eric, is that what that represents?
Yeah, and I was gonna laugh because on those PWs,
And what is that, PWs?
project worksheet through
Okay.
FEMA for a
Oh, okay.
disaster, for all your work, you have these PW sheets and they pay you whatever the percentage. For,
Designation, so they know, like we had the PW on the sewer line, this is the PW over here.
Okay.
so, the PWs that we had agreed to with the state, for the debris removal, and I believe, is there, I thought I saw Eric.
He's right there.
Oh, debris removal, and I'm not sure what the other PWs were, but it's very interesting that we got a payment, and they only paid us the federal share on any of these. We didn't get the state share. So my call on Thursday, that will be another item to add to our list is, well, when are you going to pay us the state share? So out of all the disasters for McBride, we're set to receive $423,170. We received all the federal share at $300,000, and we're waiting on $100,000 from the state, so.
Yeah, so what, well, good morning.
Good morning.
First of y'all seeing y'all for today. We actually got to use the windows, rolled them down today. It's so nice outside. But with that, what Judy mentioned is we did get payments for both categories, your Category A, and they subdivided Category A, which is debris removal. And so they split that into two parts. So you had a cost share of 100%, and then it dropped down to 75% within an extended period of time.
We don't have this page, so that's why
Yeah, that's.
you just have to
Yes.
listen to Eric.
Just listen.
This just happened to come in this week,
Yep.
Well, that's fine.
after 2 years.
I was just texting my pre-dementia.
I wish I had a better sounding voice for you, but So with that, again, category A, it was split into two measures. The before 5/4/22 and then after 8/2/22. And so before that date, you had 100% cost share with the feds and the state. And then after that date, then you had a 75% cost share. And so those two came in, as well as category G, which is Parks and Rec, which is your ball fields. And then we did take the cemetery fence off of that because we had other funding. But those are the two categories that came in. We are still waiting on category C for public assistance, which is your roads and bridges. And so at Meander and Gavilan Canyon, we're still waiting to get reimbursement on the supplies that we used to fix that guardrail and that culvert. And then at the Gavilan Canyon water crossing with the Rio Ruidoso, we are replacing those Gavion baskets there. And so we're still waiting on that fund. But as Judy predetermined that, I missed it, but you can't get anything past Judy, especially
We're
FEMA.
replacing the bridges, the Gabion baskets on which bridge?
On the Gavilan Canyon Gavilan Canyon Ruidoso, those Gavion baskets.
Close Road Bridge?
No, that's there by the ball fields, Mayor, right below the.
It's
ball
those
field.
Gabion baskets that
Oh.
gave way during,
Yes.
Okay.
The flooding.
All right, now I'm there. Okay.
The RV park.
Yep.
And so those are the only ones that we're working on or waiting for FEMA is the category C roads and bridges. And then you have something called a Cat Z project, which is all the administrative time that I've put in, that Judy's put in, that our consulting firms have put in to get some of that back. And that's usually sitting around 10%. And so we're getting all the documentation together of how much time I put in. As we all know, I sat in the conference room for a couple of weeks redoing the disaster and redoing all those forms. And so we'll send that up the chain and see what happens.
What about Sandy Recovery Company, Sandiac, whatever was the name of that company?
Mayor Cropper,
they do
members
any
of the
work on
council.
this portion?
No, they didn't at all, so.
Okay.
And us and the county we haven't used them and haven't even spoken to them in quite a while, so.
So is this work that has already been done, so that money is ours now?
So the debris removal was already done, so now that's gonna be, we'll probably hold it in reserve,
Yeah,
just in case something happens again, because the general fund's already paid it. Right now, just a quick estimate, I think we spent about 700,000 in expenses for McBride, and that was just the debris cleanup and the time of our employees and stuff. So right now, there's a little bit, we have several categories still left outstanding, and so right now, we only have PWs written for 423,000, and I know for sure we spent 700, so we're still going through the process.
okay. Wow.
and Mayor and Council, I think it's important to note, initially, they just wanted to give us about $10,000.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been a transformation on really.
Well, they denied our debris removal.
Yes.
Yes, Mayor and council, they said that we didn't do it correctly, that we had to wait. We shouldn't have even moved that
And they
quickly.
didn't show for 2 weeks or so, yeah.
It was, almost a month, and we said, we weren't gonna wait. We'll, if we have to pay for it, we'll pay for it, so.
So we still having to administer the county's portion, or have they taken that on?
They've taken that on.
They've taken all that on, so we don't have to, okay?
Luckily, my second dialect is FEMA, so I got to talk to them and go from there, so.
I don't think there is one, to be honest, because they don't all speak the same language.
That is true. It's just like the United States. There are different dialects in each portion, same for regions.
And
More
then
like a shell game, isn't it?
the new person shows up and they don't agree with any of it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a great job, for sure.
Yes, thank you. From 10,000 to 400.
400 and,
We're still waiting on
Yeah.
some more, so hopefully we'll
So-
have more.
where are you headed to now?
On the schedule, it's HR.
Okay, well, can I ask you a question? Where in the finance budget does it show the reception of all the grant monies? Does that go into each department that you show? It
So-
doesn't filter through you to them?
So most of the grant monies, all our legislative appropriations go through Fund 218. I can get you,
I'm talking about grant.
yeah,
I'm talking about like the airport money.
that was in their,
That came just in their budget,
in
doesn't
their,
come through.
it doesn't come through the general fund. If
Okay.
it's an enterprise and they have a grant, it'll sit in their enterprise fund. However, if it's a governmental type, Parks and Rec, fire, police, it goes through this designated fund as a special revenue fund called intergovernmental grants.
Right.
That's where that goes.
Okay, I saw that line item, but I didn't see the amounts reflecting.
No, and you won't see that fund in this because those grants are already in progress. And so you won't see those balances until we do the first budget adjustment in July when I do the rollover.
Okay, that's
Because
right.
I don't want to try to project what the department's going to spend on the grant and what we're going to draw down. I just wait. But if you would like a recap of what we've
No,
done,
that's fine. I was just, because we talk about this so much and I just didn't see it reflective here. So it's off balance, off sheet right now, and then you'll put it on.
and then we'll bring it back in July.
Because we discussed these things, I just didn't see it. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And in the manager's report, I put a list of what our outstanding legislative appropriation balances are and all the reimbursements that we're waiting on, if you ever want to see some of whatever grants are in progress,
Okay,
the monthly report.
okay.
Okay? So we'll move to HR. The FTEs are 4, and you're going to be moving to page 15.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mom. That's how she has to play this one.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Are you, so you're still short one person?
No, I'm fully staffed.
She may say she is, but
Yeah.
I would argue, yeah, I was gonna say, I
Answer's
would
no.
argue we need more, but.
So the first account is subscriptions and dues, and that's gonna cover our labor law posters that we have posted in all locations, and then some memberships that we have for training resources. National Safety Council has a lot of safety trainings and resources, and our safety coordinator got certified to do defensive driving through that entity to be a certified instructor. On employee awards, we budgeted for the same, or we're requesting the same amount. We are heavier on employees this year a little bit, and hopefully that'll continue to grow. But we still have the Christmas and Thanksgiving gift cards in there. And then we get Albertsons, when we go to Albertsons, they do give us a 5% discount on those, so it does help if we go over the 220 employees. Retirement plaques, I just budgeted for 12 retirees.
Ms. Sherrill, just on the card, just explain what they're for.
Oh, sure. Mayor, Council, we, just for employee appreciation, we do give $25 gift cards to all the employees at Thanksgiving and then again at Christmas.
Would it be bad to use my points reward number when you buy this? Is that bad?
That's
Is
bad.
that bad? Okay. I just want to make sure.
Counselor, that's actually brilliant.
Yeah, right? Let's don't do that.
That's priceless.
And service credit awards for this year, which we usually do at the annual Christmas party. We have 15 employees receiving 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25-year awards. General office supplies, we are requesting higher than we did last year. We do have the extra employee on that we got last year, the safety coordinator, and so a lot of our expenses, unfortunately, printer supplies for everyone's printer, that's gonna be the biggest there. And then business cards and file folders to finish switching over to the new files for the new filing system. We're still trying to get that done. On non-cap furniture, we are requesting, the safety coordinator will be relocating over to Horton. with emergency management. And so I do have his furniture identified on there. I may be able to purchase that this year, Judy. I just was kind of holding off to make sure that everyone is kind of getting their own stuff and it's not going to be uniformed office furniture. And then I am requesting a fireproof lateral file for my office, for additional files that don't necessarily go into the personnel file.
Are the personnel files digitized, Cheryl?
They are.
Okay.
They are. The majority of the file is electronic, but we also have a hard copy, a hard file. For safety equipment, we just ask that the remaining balance that we've had for the last couple years be rolled over, just so we can continue to bring in safety classes, safety resources and things like that for the staff. And then we have hopefully we have a radio project going on, and we'd be willing to help with that, to get everybody the handheld radios and the repeaters that are needed. On contractual legal fees, we did ask for 15,000. We only used 2,600, 2,700 this last year, so it was a good year.
That's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Who do you use?
It seems like
We utilize Holcomb Law Office in Albuquerque, Dina Holcomb.
She's very, very good.
Yes, it just seemed like we used her more.
I think we did the year before, but it was a pretty good year, so. But that's one of those accounts we just don't know what we're going to need, in there. The next big one is, our unemployment claims. And if you'll notice on 21, 22, and 22, 23 years, that was during the height of COVID, where DWS was approving pretty much all claims that came in. And so it was extremely high those years. I went ahead and asked for 25,000, but we've only used 7,000 this year. So again, it was a good year. Things are getting back in line there. We're considered a reimbursable employer. So we prepay amounts for the future quarter. And then if we don't use it, we can ask for a reimbursement or hold it for a credit. So the last 2 quarters, I haven't had to pay, because we've had an $8,000 credit in there. Again, that's one of those accounts we don't know what we're going to need, but. Travel and schools, I did request 3,000 for traveling for job fairs and different recruiting events, for the staff. Training and development, I have 30,000 requested for the CDL courses. That would put 8 individuals through this year, 4 in the fall and 4 in the spring. And then we never know how much, it's $4,250 to put them through the CDL course. Most of them get grant funding through Workforce Connection. We just don't know that, that's based on their criteria.
Because you did have some that you couldn't obtain scholarships that went through.
Yes, sir. But 30,000 should cover an additional 8 to put through for this year.
And those people signed 6-month contracts?
If
2
we-
years?
3 years,
3
if
years.
if we pay the full 4,250. If they get some grant funding, it's typically 2 years.
Perfect.
So if they leave, we take it out of their,
We take it out of their final check, or we send them a letter to collect, try to work that out.
And that hasn't happened yet, has it?
It actually just did happen, but we've been able to, so we had put someone through that unfortunately resigned, had an opportunity to come up, didn't know he was gonna have the opportunity to come up, but we were able to recoup the full amount. He did get some grant funding, so we were able to recoup the remaining balance out of his last check this Friday.
Wow.
And we do the same thing for police and.
I think that's really important.
I was asking for 2,600 for additional NeoGov training, specifically for Insight, Learn, and eForms. They're the different platforms we use in NeoGov, and NeoGov's pretty complex. Each of the platforms are pretty complex, and in Insight, although we've been using it a long time, I know that there are ways that we can use it more efficiently. We're kind of doing the basics to get, it's our applicant tracking system. So I would like to get additional training for my staff on those.
Do we require training of all employees, like a minimum number of hours per year? Or it's job related?
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Corey, are you talking about the safety training? Just any training? We're trying to really boost on the training now that we have a safety officer, and also, like next week, we're doing supervisor and manager training and director training with our attorney,
And then we
Dina
do
Holcomb.
clerk's training, we
Yes.
do all the different ones,
And
but
sexual harassment.
Yeah,
We-
it's topics like
Yes.
that, sexual harassment,
You have to watch a
phishing,
video, don't
social
you?
engineering.
We work with the New Mexico Self-Insurance Fund on that. They have they'll provide us at no cost training when we request it.
Yeah, Counselor Mayor, we had Erica come down from the league, and she taught sexual harassment about 6 months ago. We had active shooter, we had another gentleman come out from the league and teach that. So we're getting people in to do some in-person training.
Mayor, Councilmember Corey, the way I'm understanding your question is, and I think this is what you're going towards, usually institutions have like your specific training on,
Especially
you do
banks.
every other year sexual harassment, you do every other year, like your 4 key categories of what not to do. I know we've had that discussion, and I know our team is going through that. Is it formalized though?
That does need to be done every year, so now that we can utilize the league to come down, we'll utilize her once a year. I think that it's important for that sexual harassment, and there's others that should be done once a year.
And we had a time where the league, they were building their training program, and now they're there. So before, a couple of years ago, they didn't have it in place. They had a transition of new employees and staff, so.
And again, concern about training on social engineering. That's critical. And Ron, I remember we had a lot of problems 8 years ago with that.
Yep.
Think if we can, Mayor, I watched last night a report on that municipality in Muleshoe.
yeah.
And, I mean, it was scary. They had a video of their water department, and someone out, probably in Russia or China, took over their water
Yep.
department.
Oh, my
They-
Yep.
They showed they were clicking and opening valves, and
And they actually had to, what, did they say how much they paid out? Because I haven't heard.
no, they kept it confidential, and I was wondering, and it didn't say, I was wondering if they were in the cloud or server-based.
What I was told, it was server-based, and that they got in through phishing, and I was told by somebody that works there, they thought it was 50,000. I said, that's way too low. It had to be 10 times that.
Yeah.
And that was just because they were emptying, shutting water off, everything they could do.
Do we have insurance coverage for that?
We, Mayor Crawford, Councilor Corey, we did add the league did provide a supplemental for that.
It's a limited deal, as
Yes.
long as you have certain things that you're trying to
Yes.
educate employees, you're doing things to mitigate, yes.
And we have Systems MD where they're administering our network.
But there's not a week goes by that we don't get something
Yes.
constantly. I get them to me, hey, from me, please help me, need to go get some gift cards at Walmart.
You always want me to transfer money.
That's,
Is that what?
I always get help me, and I know darn good and well.
That's bull. Yeah, but they do, and Alamogordo, we talked about that, got stung pretty bad. Remember, and they let all their finance
Oh, yeah.
department go?
Transferred the money?
Yeah, they did.
somebody clicked on that, said click here, and they clicked, and that was,
She actually transferred the money.
She actually transferred the
Okay.
money, $500,000, and
that's right.
It was a vendor
fake vendor.
Fake vendor said we changed our banking information.
And Farmington also got, the
Well,
state,
we've gotten those emails to change.
I get them from Ron and the mayor, and I'm like, you guys, I'm like, I don't do that, right?
Why do you,
I go, Ron, I'm not gonna transfer money to you, and he's like, what are you talking about?
I mean, I have got calls from people saying, okay, now what do you need me to get? These, does it matter if I get them at Walmart? They started, I said, what are you talking about? They said you needed help in some gift cards, and I'm like, does that sound like me?
I'd like at some point for us to have a conversation with maybe Systems MD on security vulnerabilities, insurance coverage, in the banking industry, it was a major deal. But, I mean, we went so far as we engaged forensic accountants to help us rebuild, but we had those contracts in place already, so in the event of a breach, you've got coverage and you've got resources rather than scrambling after the fact.
we can have AJ and Clinton, they can provide that to us, so.
Well, and just the training that we did
Yes.
before here, and then it goes all the way to physical security that we had after the Aztec
Oh, yes.
shooting, and then next thing you know, all the doors that lock, we've got rocks holding the doors open,
Yeah.
and so people can go in and out, so it's a refresher for us all that we need to probably do for sure.
Mr. Mayor, Cheryl, I wondered on those annual educational things that I had to do almost every year with press. Do we have an online program that the employees can go on? We have over 200 employees, and I know you're having someone come down from the league, and that's fine, but I'm just wondering, is there an alternative?
Mayor, council, yes, we, the league also gave us access to a system called Vector. So we're able to assign classes out through Vector, business classes, project management, safety, all kinds of topics. There's some computer stuff in there. And then we have the Learn system through NeoGov. That's just almost finalized, actually. Unfortunately, I haven't had the resources to finish that out, but after the last safety coordinator left, but that'll give us a lot of,
And what are we doing with
hundreds
Edge?
of more classes.
Edge, are we doing anything through the Edge program?
A little bit.
A little bit. Most people use Edge for the certified procurement officer
Yes.
training. There's actually some other certificates you can get. There's a financial professional. There's is there a capital project?
Yes, and Mayor Crawford, members of the council, the New Mexico Edge classes, they're only at specific time, and they are tough to get scheduled for some of the employees. So a lot of times they'll schedule for a certain time, and so we're always having to work with them. It's hard to even reach out to them, it seems like, and so we're trying to get other resources also.
And it's just not one day that you're going. You have to usually go the whole week.
Yes.
So they usually have a session in the fall and one in the spring.
We had several take the chief procurement officer class, so I think we had 3 or 4 that were certified.
Mr. Mayor, and Cheryl, as they take these courses, then it logs in so there's accountability for who's completed the course. Or
Exactly.
Yeah, and then it goes with their PANs, their personnel action.
Yes.
all of that.
And so everybody reviews them. That's one reason I look at them, because it goes with pay increases and if they're meeting their goals and all these different things, but we get all of that.
So, thank you.
And then, the HR certification exam that I need to go and sit for, the prior membership has, a lot of on-demand classes and classes that you can purchase, but lots and lots of on-demand stuff that we can get free for our HR staff, through that membership. The Public Employee Relations Association Conference is in July, and that is hosted by Holcomb Law Office. So that's what those funds are for. I'd like to take the staff with me. It's a 2-day course. I think it'd be really good for them as well. And then custom training through ENMU. We've used them before to build management classes and then also some computer classes. We're looking to get them in to do a computer basics class. And so that 4,000 should give us, a few different classes with them on a couple of different days based on the pricing that we've had in the past. On the HEP A and B shots, we do offer the HEP A and B for certain departments, certain positions. We didn't use all of what we were budgeted for last year, but I went ahead and continued with the 1,800.
Is that with like sewer department
Yes.
and streets and?
Yes, yeah.
What about tetanus shots? Do you offer that?
Sir. We do not.
Okay.
Your drug testing budget went up quite a bit.
It-
What drove that, Cheryl?
So we've had a couple of policy changes. We're now doing post-accidents for anyone that's had a vehicle accident or requires off-site medical care. So there's that. Chief Chavez had a policy change where he is going to be doing randoms as needed for the police department staff and dispatch. We are also drug testing our temporary staff. We're back to doing that. Our previous manager didn't want to do that, but we've advocated to,
This is this pre-employment testing?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I chime in on our component with the random drug testing? It's due to the marijuana legislation that just passed, and we're getting applicants in there that we're having to eliminate because of the way that they answer the use of marijuana. But sometimes it was just a recreational because it just became legal. So they got out of high school or in high school, they tried it, and then it wasn't for them. So this gives us the ability to do random drug tests on them for the first year or so to make sure that if they are able to pass the drug test at the pre-employment, they continue to be passing drug tests throughout the year.
So, Chief, as you say, recreational use is legal. Is that
It's still,
you won't hire someone that?
no, sir, it still doesn't, because it's a
Village either.
public safety sensitive position, so we still have a zero tolerance on it.
And the village mayor?
The village, there's no marijuana use here at the village, period. But on his, if you answer a questionnaire that, yeah, I tried it 10 years ago, boom, you were done. Your application was
You had to start over.
86.
Time limit.
So this opened it up so he can do random testing, but here at the village, anytime, I don't care if it's just backing into a tree or another truck, then that individual is sent to be tested,
And if they've taken it, if it's in their bloodstream,
and they know when they're hired, it's a no-go, period.
they're out.
And these are things that we're still trying to figure out. The state crammed this down our throat, but what testing is there? And there's other states that are trying other things where it can tell approximately when you use it, like alcohol. And that's the problem with cannabis, is it's in your system.
So what about medical marijuana cards?
Mayor, Counselor, we're not
Doing those.
recognizing that any longer.
Okay.
After we revise the policy.
Okay,
Because we receive federal grants.
right,
Yep.
And it's
exactly.
not
And
legal
anybody
federally.
could get a medical marijuana at that time.
Yes.
Anybody.
And Mayor Crawford, Counselor Letterman, that was part of the rewrite of the
Right.
personnel policy, and our attorney, she said, don't
Get rid of
even
it.
touch it, so.
And Mr. Mayor, I think the other thing that needs to be taken into consideration is now you can do actual levels of THC in the bloodstream serum-wise. There is a court case currently before the appellate court to determine in a particular case where there was a vehicular homicide, what that level may mean, and will it be set? So that's out there, and that just needs to be said.
So the level of impairment.
Well, that's the question, it's like alcohol, is if you have a chronic alcoholic, I can talk to them like I am to you at a level of 350, but that doesn't mean that they may be alert, but there may be some degree of impairment. What degree of impairment then matches up with the degree of whatever the accident is or
They
the
build
harm
up
it
tolerances. Well, I had an employee that I kept asking what's wrong with him, and he said, well, I gave up pot. And I thought something was wrong with him, because the only way I'd ever known him, he was stoned all the time.
And
he-
happy.
And he was operating proficiently, and I said, man, what is,
Yeah.
this last week, you just seem, you're not on it. He goes, well, I gave up smoking pot. And I'm like, what? So you've been smoking all this time? You worked for me 8 years and I didn't know it?
Wow.
He was good at hiding it.
So he was depressed and withdrawn, or?
I don't know, I was gonna encourage him to maybe go back
Come
on.
back with his productivity down.
Here.
Normally, you'd think of it the other way, but
But he just didn't seem like he was with
in
it,
the medical community, we just call that self-medicating.
self-medicating. But I was really
A
surprised.
couple of housekeeping questions. Are the payroll, are we running that internally? We're not outsourcing that?
Internally.
Okay.
Finance handles
And we
that.
switched it some years back because it was all in human resources. The same people that made sure they had raises from the management, she did the checks, she did everything. So we've split that up now, that goes to finance, and it's separate from human resources.
Okay, and then the second question, and Ron, you may remember, when I worked here, HR spent an inordinate amount of time trying to do time cards. Has that been resolved?
Counselor, we use a module of Tyler Encode, and it's a online timekeeping. Now, only hourly people enter their time, and they have to enter time for each day worked. Anybody that's exempt, just inputs sick and vacation days.
But you remember what I'm talking about, Ron? So that's gotten a lot better?
It has, I mean, that, Mayor Crawford, Counselor Corey, I mean, it was just to review the payroll and with all it was a lot.
Yeah.
And Judy's knows that from her staff, and it's,
And it's set up to where, there's different level of approvals, that go through each department and are unique to each department.
You know, time off, overtime, because especially in streets and water, they have unbelievable amounts of overtime.
oh, yes.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
It's okay. The last thing on drug testing is for our DOT drivers. FMCSA regulates that we do at least once a year random drug testing for them. And we'll have more CDL drivers as we continue to put people through the class, so.
Yeah.
Did Yvonne pass out?
Yes.
Oh, good, okay. All right, so for recruitment costs, I do have some sponsorship amounts on there. NMSU and UNM are reasonable, and that's the highest package on the, at least on the New Mexico State.
Cheryl, can I interrupt you really quick just to
Yes.
preface your discussion on
Yes.
this? Mayor and council, on these items, we were working towards a different way to recruit. As you all know, we've had some senior level positions open. There's also in 2 years, probably going to be an exodus of senior leadership as they're eligible to retire. And so the major concern is how do we fill those positions or backfill those positions currently to get training so that we can start moving forward. And so one of the ways that Cheryl has identified is, and that we've looked at, is to figure out how to recruit in a different way. You've noticed the budget was roughly at about 12 to 15. Those were where we were paying for our regular headhunters. That hasn't done anything for us.
Nada.
So what has switched up in the last couple of years is that, and Cheryl will go more into detail on this, is recruitments have changed significantly.
Yes, they
where
have.
we are trying to get out now into the face of these individuals, trying to get to the universities, trying to get to the locations. As was mentioned yesterday, the wastewater and the water certification groups out of Doniana, we're trying to bring them here, but we really need to take our managers down there to have a conversation with those individuals that are coming out. Same way, we probably need to get the mayor and Ron in front of these groups at these institutions to have the communications to directly say, how do we talk to you so you can come out and fill these different positions? So that's where this is coming from. That's why it looks so different, and I'll leave it to Cheryl to.
When Cheryl went to NMSU, I didn't get to go, but I've had conversations with different chairs of different departments, just like we do in Santa Fe, developing a relationship with those individuals, because I want to be that favorite child that they talk to their students about. And Eric was really our first one that we didn't go see him, but he was still in college, but had some practical experience. And so we reached out, had a contract with Eric, and then we waited on him for, seemed like forever. It was probably,
did.
what, 4 months, 6 months? Oh, was it just 2 months?
It was a year and a half.
Yeah, but
What does the sponsorship give us?
So there are a lot of different options. I wanted to talk more about the Texas Tech one, because that's a high-ticket sponsorship on there. Their 12,000 is the highest, and it's,
platinum.
yeah, it's gonna be a gold sponsorship. You're gonna get to come out each semester, set up a table, talk to students in between classes. You're gonna get catering credits, receive sponsorship plaques. They're gonna put a nameplate on your interview suite room, so you can go in and do interviews as needed. You'll get a quarter-page ad in the Career Resource Handbook, free registrations to the job fairs, and, really the list goes on and on. $1,000 of that sponsorship will be distributed as scholarships to the Career Management Center Student Business Council members. And then they'll hand out our swag and our information on our organization for us when we're not there. Your social media, their website. So I think Yvonne passed out the Texas Tech one, and you can see the difference between the $5,000 sponsorship and the 12. And so,
And really what this does is it guarantees us access. And so a lot of students from our professional side and on our front end side with our teams that are in the fields, they're getting recruited way before we ever see them. Right now, what we're doing is we're barely trying to get them in the interview stage, in the application stage. Most of them are already picked up.
done.
And so we're trying to gain access to them as they're barely starting to figure out what they want to do. The more they see our name, the more they talk to us, the more they hear us, the better opportunity we have to make that recruitment here. And so if we get 3 people or 1 person, what we just paid for, it pays for itself. Now, this item is not necessarily the official cost, it's the recommended cost, but I just self-funded item for my university for UNT. I committed $5,000 and made a sponsorship for the village's name, and they just had an item last Friday. And so I didn't get to go out, but we talked to people, we talked to students, and I was online with them on Friday and saying, hey, come here, this is where we want you. So those are the kinds of things that we need to do, and they're like, well, why don't we hear from you? Where are you at? As a reference to Eric, talking to his students, talking to those people, making those connections back to colleges, those institutions. You can say, hey, we'll sponsor a connection event for you. And you're sponsoring food, and nameplates is what you're doing. And you're saying, this is what we do, this is who we are. That's that kind of interaction you're looking at. Yep. And then the university gets a hold of you and says, holy cow, these guys become sponsors. Now we have a line to start sending people to officially. And if you're a good place to work, you move up on their priority list, and so they'll start pushing you into different locations as well.
So we're trying to think outside the box to get people hired.
Yes.
And Mayor and Council, Mayor Crawford, just with the New Mexico Municipal League, all the meetings he's gone to, everyone's having issues, trying to recruit any top positions, and it's just, this is statewide.
I think this is a great idea. I'm just wondering, Cheryl, do you need to raise your travel budget if you start going out?
Probably.
potentially.
For hotels,
Yes,
because
sir.
I was wanting to go to NMSU with her, but I didn't get away, so it has to be planned on these things, but I think it's very important that we show up, we look like we belong there. You've been to these, and we've done little job fairs here at the college, at Inn of the Mountain Gods, and you show up, and if you're kind of half-assed, they go by you.
Yeah.
But what we've seen is what he's saying, and the reason we're looking at this is because not as many people are attending these things. And then you're getting retreads. And so we're having to go outside the community, and then we come back housing, and that's the issue, is that getting those folks to come in and then start their career with us. And then hopefully they want to grow. And then if not, but at least we have some sort of a segue into this market that people are out there in Lubbock, they're in Las Cruces, there people are watching, you know what, the village probably be a good fit for you.
Yeah.
And it's like Deanna over at, Deanna Oberhue at the college, she's got some really smart cookies that were really excited, I think, from what she told me about the wastewater treatment plant, because there's so much science there, but they're really not college. They don't want to go to college. But yet here's something they could go into a program and in relatively short career, make really good money.
Right, that's a great idea.
I do too.
Did you look at Eastern and Portales?
I don't have it listed here, but I do need to look at them, actually.
And we've talked locally to Ryan and trying to integrate some of that stuff, but we will expand. And I think the other piece, and I don't mean to rain on your parade, Charles, what she's gonna go into with the internship program directly feeds into this process. So trying to help them here earlier, as the mayor mentioned, having housing, we may save a single house at 603 or if
Or
we
you
get-
buy one and we'll use the one you're in.
Yeah, oh, I'm trying to. I can't afford it right now. But if we can use one and have a summer program where we're starting to recruit these people here and have a rotational program, and again, she'll go through this, but it all feeds into long-term planning for how we're trying to recruit. I think both chiefs are eligible to retire extremely soon.
Yeah,
You
management
have
succession.
management
several.
that's ready to retire from a director's level. And so, and I know Ron just raised his hand, I'm not gonna let him do that, but you do have some major components of the village. Judy's sitting right here and she doesn't have a deputy director. We have some major components that are gonna be leaving here in the next couple of years. And honestly, my biggest fear being here in 3 years is not the budget. It's the pieces that are gonna be missing if we don't have them, because then everything we've worked so hard for could
Falls
suddenly just fall apart.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Back in the ditch.
Yeah.
Do we have a written management succession plan?
I don't think so.
We've been working on that,
And
yes.
it's moving forward.
Yes.
The chief drags around some guys that are not really excited about being number one. They find out number one gets shot
Drags
at,
them
number two gets to watch.
Yeah.
So we're trying that deal to see if we can recruit, and at the fire station too, we'd love that.
Great idea.
And
Do it.
Mayor and council, going back to getting in front of these students, my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, she got picked up as a junior in college because she was in an organization. She's an IT major. She was in an organization and basically had a job offer as a junior. So the day she graduated, she was there. She was set. And, but I don't know, how much do students today know about public service? Government?
Zero.
And, even if they know that it's a stable job, great benefits and that, there's something special about serving the public. I mean, about being a public servant, right? And I think that's what we have to send that message to
So
them.
what is our policy on remote work? Because in the private sector, that's what the new applicants, that's the first thing they were asking.
And mayor and council, we don't have a policy on private work. I think I think the item I would suggest is that, I don't think as a tourist community, we're necessarily able from a frontline perspective to have a work from home component. I do think that there's other things we need to evaluate on how to compete with work from home. If you go talk to some of these students today, they're telling you, I'm gonna work from home 3 to 4 days a week.
Maybe.
Why would I go out there? That's what they're
Well,
being
and-
proposed
and-
with.
And I was slow to embrace that concept, but we got to the point, we couldn't find a CFO. We ended up, we hired a guy, he was in Cincinnati, and.
Well, there are a few spots that can do that, but
No, and
Yeah.
I understand, but, the other thing is the cost, that kind of gets you around the cost of living if you can designate certain positions as eligible for remote work. But, you know, it's been a challenge. You know, my concern initially was, are they really gonna be working, or are they, you know, gonna be out on the golf course? But
And Mayor and Council, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I do think there's a challenge to that. I do think that there's some proposals that we would like to work on as staff. The idea of 410s, and not where we shut down 4 days after,
Right.
but where we're open 5
the
days,
employees
but
the
we
option.
leverage Mondays and Fridays. And so now suddenly you have a 3-day weekend, but you're getting all of your stuff done, but there's someone in the department that's always working. It increases customer service to the community. It allows for, employees to have a different approach to morale because now they have a little bit more time off. When you look at the cost impact, there's a slight increase. That slight increase comes from the number of hours that you have to pay for on vacation and sick, just because you're billing at 10 instead of 8. But it does have its impacts. And so I think if there was a direction from council to say, hey, at least evaluate some of these things, I think we can bring back what that would look like. And then we'd probably do a survey. I think those are things that we have to do in order to compete. In order to compete with recruitment, those are going to be things that I would recommend you look at, but I understand that there's also a different culture that exists within the village, and we have to work with that as well. So we would have to figure out what that compromise is if we want to move
Trying to be
forward.
nice, because we're all old.
And Mayor and Council.
And we're still dealing with the state, that they still haven't shown up for work, and FAA, nobody goes into the office, you can't get them to respond.
Yes.
And people, we have to be able to respond.
So, from the private sector, what the paradigm shift we saw was, you know, 10 years ago, it was all about pay. Now it's all about quality of life. What are you hearing from?
Yeah, you know,
applicants?
the newer workforce, I think there's a lot of, definitely about pay, a little less about benefits right now, because everyone just wants the
Money.
money in their pocket.
Yep.
And I think that's probably occurring with more than we think because of the economy and inflation. But, you know, your career workforce, their benefits are super important for them.
In the retirement, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the aging workforce, the career workforce, you know, benefits are important. So it's a little all over the board, but I think looking at some of that, we know that we have to be here to serve the public. We know we need all hands on deck, but looking at some of these other out-of-the-box ideas might be what we need to do.
And
Mr. Mayor, Cheryl, one thing that I hit upon more often than not is whether they're in a 2-year program at college or if they're just coming out of high school and they're looking for a service industry, more so for that first tier of individuals, and especially the 4-year graduate, they're looking at an incredible debt, educational debt. So that does factor into what am I getting paid per hour, and because I'm having to meet that requirement. My second thought is, in medicine, what we've done is we've looked at people that are coming in, say, from nursing, or they may be coming in from a tech program, whether it's radiology or specifically in radiology, ultrasound techs, CT techs. They all have their individual specifications for education, offering them some relief in terms of their debt relief from their education. And I don't know if that's a consideration or not, but I would strongly concern myself with it, especially if you're recruiting out of college.
And Mayor and Council, one of the programs, and I think legislatively, as a municipality, we need to look at possibly supporting it. The state is looking at trying to offset costs specifically for government employees. And that, if that rolls down to municipal entities, I think it would be beneficial. So to your point on the cost per dollar, what they're making and how much they have, if a student comes out, and I'm making something up, but let's say they come out of UNM Law School and suddenly they want to get into policy and they need to make $180,000 a year, which they're not going to make, but they can come in and do a loan forgiveness program where it's not on us financially, but we do a write-off or we participate in the state's programs, as the state would say, hey, we'll do loan forgiveness here if you work for us for 8 years. Then suddenly you get a commitment from those younger generation employees. And it goes back to that kind of company man philosophy where there was a pension before, or now there's not necessarily that. If you start looking at the numbers today, the average in this generation, the average person that's coming out is with their new entity 2 to 3 years or 5 years, and then they turn around and leave because they don't have that need to commit anymore. There isn't that end of the line pension idea. There isn't a reason to stay. It's what's the next best thing. And as we see from what we're seeing from the new demographics with this generation and the past and the previous generation is that they want to move up quickly. They're trying to recruit titles as quickly as they can. And I think one of the things that we can do to help with that is have a dynamic growth program within the village. This isn't going to happen overnight, but as we understand that this is going to impact us, back to planning and back to where we're going, I think we need to keep that in mind as well. And I know this is a much longer concept and it'll be this council and other councils in the future, but I do think that you all have the ability to maybe look at creating that foundation to move forward. That is a concern. I will say that is my biggest concern as a current employee right now, and is what will happen in the next 2 to 3 years.
One of the things Councilor Jackson brought up, you might think about, Cheryl, is also vocational schools. You know,
It's a great idea.
Like in El Paso Western Tech Institute, I mean, they're training truck drivers, mechanics, HVAC.
Electricians.
Yeah.
Plumbing, I think is in there. The other thing that I wanted to just touch on, the hospital instituted several years back what they called MASH Day. I know that's a military portable surgical hospital, but what it was just to give these young students, and it wasn't just Ruidoso High School, it was Capitan and any others that wanted to participate, and they have had a great response, just to let them visualize what this is about. You know, whether it's radiology or surgery or frontline administrative staff. I mean, it crosses over everything because they have over 200 employees. But my point is, they wouldn't know otherwise. I mean, most people don't have a fond memory of going to the hospital. I mean, they have an even less fond memory of being in the emergency room, but this is a whole different view of what this is about and how it operates. And there have been a lot of positives that have come out of it, scholarships to those. And I'm not talking about someone who's going to be a doctor or a nurse. I'm talking about someone who has an interest in what I would call allied health professions, which are those techs and those industries that we are woefully short on. And so they have an opportunity to get a scholarship annually that's renewed if they continue with their program. There's some carrots there, not just sticks. And I think it's important maybe to look at that as well. You know, you were talking about those who were interested in wastewater. Who in the world would have, I mean, I had to be shown where the wastewater treatment plant was. So it just isn't something that comes to mind. And all that, and they are right. When I went through that period where I went for a day, when I went through that plant, I thought I was back in Chem 1. I mean, there was just a lot of math and science associated with it that they wouldn't even think would be. So it's just a thought.
Yeah, thank you.
The internships, are there any tax rebates available?
Sometimes we get money from Workforce Solutions that they pay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can look into that. I do know that the state had offered part of the ARPA funds that were remaining 2 years ago for internship programs. I'm not sure if those are left yet, but we can take an interest into them.
There's several programs through the Workforce Solutions. It's just a matter of looking into them, and I know they'll pay a percentage of it at a minimum wage or whatnot, so.
This is great.
Okay. And I just want to talk a little bit about the internship program that I passed out. And this is just a draft, but it kind of goes into, you know, what internships are, what our objective is. And then if you look at page 2, We want to we'd like to do a high school internship, a college student internship, and a graduate student internship. Potentially 3 high school, 2 to 3 college, 1 to 2 graduate. Proposing, $16 an hour for a high school, $20 an hour for a college student, and potentially 25 for a grad student. This goes into best practices to ensure that we have a successful program. We definitely don't want to stick people behind a phone or in a file cabinet room or whatever. We really want to teach them skills in their area of study. On page 4, it breaks out those hourly rates, the number of interns, average hours for a semester or a summer session, and in the end, we're looking at, for less than $60,000, having 8 interns throughout the year, working in specialized fields or rotating through different departments, which will positively impact us with 2,640 workforce hours back.
So you've got an intern, they complete their internship. We post for jobs, would we give extra points for someone that interned?
I think, and even outside of that, I think if you see you have a good intern and they're willing to commit, you bring them back, you have a job offer ready for them. So I think those are transitions that are very capable. And we're trying to mirror something. I went through a program with the city of Dallas where I was in a rotational program for 3 years. As soon as that was done, I had a job offer even before I finished my rotational program. But what it does is it keeps you able to sustain that growth and sustain recruitments at a much higher level, so.
Mr. Mayor, either to Michael or, the thing that occurred to me also is that, and you'll have to fact check me on this, but, because I'm going back to when our students, or our daughters were in school here, in high school, I know the seniors get those first 2 rows, and that's almost sacred for their cars. The other one is that many would have, if their grades were solid, they would allow them half days off. And it was certain days of the week, I can't tell you how many, which is why, and the reason I bring up the car business is I could tell looking at that front row how many were out and how many were in, but that might tie into your internship because they would have hours away and they get credit for it as well. Now, I realize some of that is dual credit when they're taking courses at EMU, but not all of it, certainly. And for those that are interested in what we've been talking about today, that might be another segue into allowing that and making it workable for you as well as getting paid. I mean, that's a lot of money, I think, for a high school student at the senior level.
Yes, Mayor, Council, I think Councilor Eby had mentioned that the last time we talked to work with our educational partners and make sure that they get credit. I do know that I believe the majority of the seniors, if not all, do get out, they do go to school half a day, so they have the entire afternoon that would work for them. There's in the proposal, we want to develop some criteria for those students, especially the high school students, because we don't know how much interest we'll have. I suspect we'll have quite a bit, but we want to develop some kind of criteria and maybe a committee to help decide which internships to take on or which interns to take on through an essay or and kind of finding out about them and their interests and what they plan to study and their goals. But we'd like to put together a small committee to help select. If we have 15 or 20 people put in, we need to be able to narrow that down.
And if I recall correctly, that as you go, if you can get into the high school now with an escort, but on the right side was administration, on the left side was the counseling office where most of that occurred. So, and I don't think that's changed, at least the lettering on the door hasn't, so that might be
And you talked, Gary, about the MASH, high school just did it.
right.
It's 8th grade that goes.
It was at the 8th grade?
Yes, it's the 8th
graders
grade.
that go.
Madison did that.
Okay. So, everybody likes this, obviously, that's a home run.
Yes.
So you just need to decide on the 12,000, what sponsorship levels and then we'll have ENMU, we're gonna have what do you call the big guy? Chancellor? He'll be coming up next week and then we'll have him, because we're hosting a lot of them out at the track. But they're very involved here with these guys, so.
And if you are looking at vocational schools, Cheryl, I can give you contact information for the school,
Excellent.
But even if you're looking for, if we were looking at headhunters, it'd be way more than what you've got right
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
They take a
Never
big,
had good luck with headhunters.
yeah.
well, you remember when we were gonna have the headhunter for that one position, what'd they want? 80 grand?
Oh, gosh, absolutely.
And the job paid, didn't even pay that much.
And not to belabor the point, but like with vocational schools, they have a vested interest in placing their students
Yep.
because they can advertise 90% of our graduates are placed, so.
Yep.
I think it's great there, Cheryl. So I guess underneath this, you're gonna be 1099, all of them?
Say that again, Counselor?
As far as the pay, because since there's no benefits, no tax deductions, this
Oh.
and the other thing, you're gonna 1099?
Mayor, council, no, they'll just come on as a temporary employee, but they're not eligible for any benefits.
Oh, okay, all right, so that's what I meant, that you would have to 1099 them, they.
They would get a W-2.
Yeah.
W-2s?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the last category is our, just our NeoGov platforms. We do see an increase in there usually every year. They have about a 5% increase on us. But they work well for us, so.
Good job.
Any questions?
Is there a line item in here for it yet?
Say it again, Counselor?
Is there something in your budget for it,
For what?
for this program?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all on the
That's
southern
all right
page.
there. That was the 12
On page,
intern
17.
sponsorship.
of 134.
It's at the very end on 17, page 17.
Page 18 actually includes the internship program costs.
Third
Mayor and
line
council, it's the internship program, 8 interns, it's number 3 from the top, at the 60,000 mark.
Oh, yeah, 60,000 on the next page.
Okay, great, great.
Well, it'd be nice after we get this started to have a report on it down the road.
All right.
Because, it's just like what we're doing on the scholarship programs for the CDLs. We know that people are doing it, but we have to ask how many people went through it, how many people, so that's what he's talking about is, what does that look like after we get rolling to keep
So it actually.
tabs on it if it were, is it working?
Yeah, do we need to tweak it?
That's what I thought was the.
I do have a question. Cheryl, are we still doing I call them the bonuses for the temporary lifeguards and all of them,
If they're here.
If they come back.
if they come back?
We're doing when we approved the pay plan in last April,
Right,
we're doing it's like a 2% each season that
Okay.
they come back.
but it seemed like the first year we opened up, that they worked the whole season, and they got like $1,000 or something
Well,
like that.
That's what I thought.
Mayor, council, that was if they went through the, what was that called?
Service training.
That was at the ENMU, the training.
So they went through all the training and then they would
Yes,
get,
they worked, and then they went through the ENMU classes. And if they completed it all, then they got a bonus on every hour they worked for the summer. I don't recall the amount, but we're not doing that currently.
okay,
But they are getting a returning
yeah, coming
You
back
know.
to work.
from 16 to like 1623 or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Is that the police or?
Fire.
Fire?
We got the fireman.
Well, he jumped up when you said who's next?
I was just going by what was in order because after
Yeah.
Human Resources was police.
Where is fire? Way up front. Way up.
So it'll start on page 25. FTEs are 30 for the fire.
Where is it?
On page,
Oh, there it is, back with airport and fire.
Remember, if you had a reused folder, it's gonna be with airport, but if you have a new one, it's gonna be with gas tax, streets.
You remember.
I just can't read that fast.
Chief, I guess a little bit off topic. What's our current ISO rating?
2.
2?
Yes, sir.
Were we ever a 1?
No.
Sir. No, we've never been a 1. The last ISO inspection counselor and mayor was in 2016. It brought us into a 2.
Okay.
And we're fixing, or we're getting ready to have another one coming up in May, and everything is looking like we're gonna stay at 2.
Good.
If we would have enough staff and enough equipment, we could go to a 1, but if you go up to that level and then the next ISO inspection, you don't make that level, you drop all the way down to a 10 and you have to work your way back up.
Okay, so,
All the way back.
you know, and I heard a lot of comments about people losing their homeowners coverage.
Yes.
Is that driven by the ISO rating, or is it driven by?
ISO, but now they've got a new metric
Yes.
called the fire line that we just heard about.
Is that the one that's penalizing
That's
us?
the one that's nailing us.
On
So
that.
no matter what chief does,
Nope. And that's what we're trying to combat legislatively with the insurance board and all that, because that was a new metric. We never heard of it, and the insurance people had never heard of it. And we had a presentation on it, I don't know, 4 months ago,
Yes, sir.
5 months ago. She scared the living tar out of everybody. Yeah, and because it was all terrible.
Doom and gloom.
Doom and gloom and no possibilities, but we've been able to work through some of it.
And what we're doing right now, Counselor Corey, is if somebody somebody will call us saying that their insurance is denying them coverage because of something, myself or my assistant chief will go out to their house and take pictures and show them, so we can send them to the insurance company saying, yes, a fire truck can get there. Yes, there's water supplies this far away. So we are responding to the insurance companies for these.
And some of the photos were Google Earth, and they
Yes.
were old.
Yes.
And didn't show the thinning or the new metal roof or whatever.
yeah, I lost coverage and I've got a fire hydrant in my yard.
Yes.
Okay.
So the
thank
people
you,
just have to
Chief.
get a hold of us, and we can go out and deal with that and get insurance companies letters saying that this is.
And that's one of the reasons that we made the modifications in our tank
Yes.
overhauls, was to make sure during peak fire season that we had all the storage that we could get.
Yes.
So that's why we postponed that for 100 and something days, whatever it was.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Right. Mayor, councilors, so on our budget, we'll go down to the dues and subscriptions. We have a proposal for $23,000 for new software. What this is going to be is the current software we use is called Fire Station. It has become very outdated. It is 12 to 14 years old, and we use it to track our truck checks, any repairs we need, all of our equipment, and our personnel. And this program, the proprietor had passed away, so somebody else is trying to take it over, but they're not updating it. So we're looking at some other ones, First Due, and there's ESO that have similar programs, and they're gonna be a little more expensive, but they'll give us a better quality of tracking for our equipment and personnel, keep track of everything that we need to. So that's what this proposal is. We've been doing phone interviews and webinars, web meetings with these companies, trying to figure out who's gonna be the best for us. And we've actually had Andrew Solon involved in these meetings, so he can look at the software as well, so we can get his input on what he thinks about different softwares. So that's what that $23,000 is earmarked for at this point in time. We don't have a price, we're just estimating.
Chief, just a quick question.
Yes.
Well, as we do the E911, do we know if this is going to be integrated into like a CAD system, or will it work with any future MDTs you may need to purchase to work with those kinds of things, or is it?
I know they will be able to integrate them with a CAD system. Once the village dispatch does the CAD system, we are making sure that they will integrate with other systems. And they're also, one of them, the ESO, actually goes with NIFRS, which is our fire reporting system. And so we can enter our report, some of our reports there, and just transfer it straight over to the NIFR system from this system, and some of them don't. So that's our fire reporting system. That's how we get our funding, as well as the amount of runs and calls we have. That is where part of this falls into place as well.
And Chief, that goes straight to the State Fire Marshal's office,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Uniform needs, we put an additional 5,000 in there. What we're doing is we're revamping our Honor Guard program, and those uniforms, dress uniforms aren't cheap, so we're looking at $5,000 to get 6 or 7 firefighters equipped to do Honor Guard services for funerals and conventions and stuff like that, because all of the guys that had previously had the uniforms have left, so we're needing new uniforms for our new employees now. General office supplies are at 10,000. We requested 10,000. That's with an increase in staff. We may be seeing an increase in usage. It may be used more, we may use less. That's just something depending on the prices. General supplies, saying we upped that to 20,000 request. We've used various amounts throughout the years, 14,000, a couple of years ago, 11,000 is where we're at right now. So the 20,000 is just rounded up, of course, with the prices, everything going up, that we feel that that's a good asking for that. For the non-capital, we're asking for 120. Let me see what we had that for. We're looking at, a lot of that will come out of our fire fund money, so we're looking at new bunker gear, getting additional bunker gear for our employees right now, our staff. Right now, they only have one set of bunker gear. If they get contaminated, we have to give them a set of old ones that aren't really fit for them. So
And I'm sorry, Chief, what's bunker gear?
their turnout gear that they go into houses and fight fire in, their outfits, their entire jackets, pants, boots, helmets, and everything. So we're looking at going ahead and getting that for 50. We're going to try to do half the department this year and half the department the following year, and that cost us $75,000 right off the top just for bunker gear, because each set of bunker gear runs about $6,500 to $7,000 at this point in time. We're going to be looking at $13,000. I'm getting a new command truck for the chief. We've got one for the assistant chief and the emergency manager, and the lighting systems and getting the radios installed and our cell phone boosters installed is right at $13,000 through Code 3 out of Roswell. So part of that 120 is $13,000 for that new truck that's going to be coming in probably June. So after the fiscal year, we'll get the lights put on it as well and have a new truck for myself. And then the vehicle I'm using will be an admin vehicle. It'll help people travel to schools and stuff, give us a better quality vehicle, and we'll be getting rid of some of our older vehicles in our inventory.
Could you give one to Eddie?
And the airport.
You've got your vehicle, it's a big red truck.
With a hook and ladder. It'll take lots of people in it.
And then
It has a siren too.
Put them in a movie.
Yeah.
And we're looking at, we need to get $13,000 worth of new nozzles and fixtures for firefighting. We were told in our ISO rating that we needed some additional ones for that. So to get us compliant with ISO, we're going to go ahead and buy some
I was
additional.
going to say, what's the rotation on the hoses?
The hoses, I don't remember the exact years, but we do hose testing every year.
Right.
And we certify them, and then we actually have a company that comes in and certifies them. So if they pass, they pass. If they don't, then we have to replace them. So we're constantly buying new hose.
Some reason I thought every 5 years you had to.
No, we've got some that's
replace
older
them.
than 5 years. I think we're probably looking at 10 years is what we're
Okay.
looking at.
Okay.
But we do hose test them every year, annually. We're fixing to start that process.
Okay.
The bunker gear is on a 10-year process as well. For bunker gear is only good for 10 years. So every 10 years, we'd have to start the
Right.
cycle. That's why I'm trying to get cycled in there on that that $75,000 was 15 pairs. So we'll get them this year, then each try to cycle in different
Different
years. So we're not
groups,
having
yeah.
to buy everything in one
Rotation.
year.
Right. That's good.
And Chief, on the bunker gear, you have a specialized washing machine for the bunker gear, right?
Yes, we did purchase, this past year, we did purchase an extractor, which what that is and it takes special soap, so it's not used for regular washing clothes. It's a special high-speed spinning machine that extracts all the carcinogens out of the bunker gear. So we don't have to always send it off. In the past, we were sending it off. If we had a structure fire and something happened, we would have to mail it off to Phoenix, Arizona to get cleaned and checked. Now we can wash it at our own station unless there's a damage to one of the pairs of bunker gear. That's the only time we really need to send it off for that repairs and inspections. So that cost us about $7,000 to get that machine in, but it's gonna save us a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, good.
A lot of time, too.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
To get it in, it's not something you just buy off the rack, right?
No, they come and fit the firefighters. We got all our new firefighters on right now. So here, we got our EMS conference going this week, and one of the representatives here, once we get it ordered, they come down and fit them. And then probably within about 4 to 6 weeks, it takes a while, because they gotta build them, so they're specifically sized for the individuals. Okay, so we'll go down to, if there's no questions on the non-capital, that covers that. The next is the utilities, and that's covered by just the standard utilities. Safety equipment, we're looking at $20,000. There's just various items throughout the year that we need for safety equipment. Some of that is gonna be some of our new wildland equipment we're looking at getting. We're upgrading stuff, upgrading hoses. And then we're equipping our other ATV that we got last year with additional wildland firefighting equipment too, for safety reasons. And baskets to carry, Stokes baskets to carry injured people in.
Okay. Chief, let's back up to fuel, 12,000 more. I mean, I know we're fixing to look at increases in that, but does that include the possibilities when you're sent out to these other destinations? Like you went out to Oregon or Washington at one time, and
That will include that, yes. We do get reimbursed for all the travel.
I knew we get
Yes.
reimbursed, but that's why it jumped up.
Yes,
Or I'm
sir.
trying to justify why it jumped up there.
Besides that, the price in fuel has increased.
Yeah.
We're
well,
steadily
and
increasing.
It's going up again,
Yes.
so.
So that's why part of the increase is for that, plus our out-of-town travel and some of that stuff as well. And, most of our trucks use diesel fuel, so, the price of
Right,
diesel fuel
it's- yeah.
is becoming outrageous, so. Okay, any questions on the next one, the safety equipment that we're needing? We're just gonna be replacing stuff and getting new stuff.
What, the next line item, chief, donations, what was that?
So, several of the departments, Parks and Rec, Senior Center, Police, Fire, they get donations, from the public, and so what happens is, because sometimes they have stipulations on what they can use it for, we hold their donations in a line item separate from all their other expenses, so that if somebody ever asks, well, did you spend my money, they have one account to go in and search to see what they spent. And that's a rollover, so, you won't see anything because we don't project donations.
Sure.
We, budget them as we receive them, and then at the end of June, whatever balance they have will be rolled over, and then you'll see an amount in their expense line item.
It's Counselor Corey. We have people just walk in and hand us checks. Here's for the fire department.
Wow, send them
It's
my
awesome.
way.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, good luck.
You were a banker, weren't you?
Oh, I did forget one thing on the page 25, under the non-capital, that 120,000. We are looking at getting 3 tablets with accessories to go in our main row fire trucks to help with mapping and responding to scenes, and we can actually get reports taken care of a little quicker, so we're looking at tablets to do that. We can have all of our software loaded on there on from Adam where the hydrants are as we're going to scene. So that's another, it's a $3,000 price tag on that, but it'll give our firefighters easier ways to find
Yeah.
hydrants, find their way around town, because, you know, we do have some odd roads around here, so that's gonna assist with our response times as well.
Right.
Our contractual services,
What is that, chief?
that is covering some of the software that we use. The radio communication services, so we have Radio Rick that comes in and works on our radios, radio towers, our repeaters, and takes care of that service. So that's what a lot of that is.
Because
That's our radio repairs.
we've never historically had it. So has that just been categorized elsewhere?
We had it at 7,000 back in 2021, and why,
That was a budget, that wasn't the actual.
Looking at.
right, there.
He's never spent any of the money, so he's asking, why are you budgeting it if you've never used it?
We're, I'm not sure why we put it at that. I know we're looking at getting some new, actually what it is we're getting some new repeaters. We're having a repeater put out at the airport to help cover coverage. That's part of the contractual services. Rick Souls, we call him Radio Rick. He's a radio guy. So we're looking at putting a repeater up out of the airport. So we have individuals that live further out. So if we have an all-call, they'll be able to get their pages further out of the village. And sometimes the radio traffic doesn't come through clearly, so that's what that'll help as well.
Thank you.
Okay, the telephone is self-explanatory. Volunteer insurance, we took that off. We did not have a volunteer program at this time. We're just gonna get enough people to wanna be volunteers to do insurance, so travel in schools. It just varies on what kind of training we have, where it's at. We got a lot of new employees, new firefighters now, so they're gonna be a lot more initial training, so that we did up that to 40,000 because of the cost of hotels as well, and how much travel that they're gonna be doing to Socorro, Las Cruces, Albuquerque. It just varies on where we are with that.
And Chief, you still have 2 vacant positions open. right?
Actually, we just filled our last one. He started
Okay.
today, so I am
That's
completely full
right.
at this
I
time.
remember you said you were waiting on,
Yes, sir.
so we're fully staffed now.
Started today, we're fully staffed, yes, sir.
Okay.
That's been a while coming.
It's been a long time coming, yes.
It's been a long, long time.
So, and the last 4 or 5 guys we got, they seem really good, really with it. They're doing a really good job, so.
Good.
And this gentleman, the young man we hired that got on today, he's got a good background. His father actually had a background in wildfire with the reservation, so he knows the
All right.
firefighting roles and stuff, so
Oh, so he's local? He's local.
yes. Yes, he is local. Everybody that we just recently hired is local.
Great.
I
That's
love
good
it too.
news.
I
And
do
the last
too.
5 employees are local.
Love it.
That's awesome. Anyway, thank you.
Equipment rental. That's just the copy machine lease for Station 1 and all the ink and services. That's what that is for the equipment rental. Proposed at 60,000. And then the 60,000 is all repair and maintenance to the fire engines and generators. That's just standard maintenance to our vehicles and stuff. Our fleet is aging. We are having some issues. We actually have 1 truck down on Tularosa right now being repaired. So the cost of keeping these trucks up, this aging fleet up, is increasing. So, but that's what that covers is the entire cost of, we've increased that for repairs and.
Do you ever fire up the generator?
Yes,
for
the generators
building? I
tested.
mean, is that on a scheduled kind of
Yes, sir, it is.
testing?
Counselor, it is. Yeah, Captain Sidwell he's in charge of the generator, so he fires it up at least once a month and
Okay.
tests it. So we do test that regularly.
That's good. And then the trailer that does the portable oxygen stuff, is there any monthly maintenance on that, or?
There's weekly checks on it. They do weekly
Okay.
checks on it.
That's good.
It's treated as like a fire truck.
Right.
So there's weekly checks, and actually each shift checks it on a daily basis to make sure they go out there and look at it. They may not start it all the time, but they
Right.
make sure that it's got fuel, the tire's up, and everything's got on it. So yes, there is daily checks, there's weekly checks, and monthly checks.
Okay.
And we have had to use that trailer several times.
I knew that, so I just want to make sure we're up on the maintenance of
sir.
it, or just even the checking of it.
Yes,
because
and we have a system like that in our stations, so, Artesia Fire Supply comes in and services the compressor portion of it to make sure the quality of air coming out of it is right. So we do that every quarter, so they come in every quarter and check the quality of air in the trailer, as well as our one in our building as well.
Okay.
So that is serviced quarterly.
Good, good.
Alrighty, next we have vehicle maintenance, tires, so the 60,000 is just for general repairs on vehicles, oil changes, anything that happens on some of the other vehicle maintenance wise, the trucks, the trailers, new tires. So that covers that 60,000. Any questions there? So building and property maintenance. So we're budgeting at 30,000, so it's painting and repairs to all the buildings, 15,000. And this year, we have it on our schedule to reseal all the wood around the building. And last time we had that done was in 2018, it was about 12,000, so we're budgeting trying to budget about 15,000 for somebody to come in and reseal all the wood on Station 1. And we should be getting quotes here fairly soon on that. Any questions on that? Fire fund, okay.
So, let's go to fire fund now, which is on page 65 in that same section. Page 65.
65. I see it.
Right. Okay, so under fire fund, we have, all the fire prevention supplies. Our big number there is, a request for, under equipment and vehicles under the capital projects. We're looking at, requesting 600,000 for a new truck and, 600,000 for additional bays on Station 2 for our, growing fleet of vehicles and personnel. And, we did get an estimate from White Sands on Station 2, the addition will be 600,000. And I put 600,000 for a fire truck just because the last one we got was 550,000. So I'm just estimating. I'm actually going to be talking to a salesperson this week at the conference, trying to get me a price on a new truck, because we do need to keep rolling into buying new trucks to replace some of our older ones, because it takes 18 to 24 months to get a new truck in. So I do have fire fund that I roll over to try to take care of this stuff. May need some help from other places, grants, or the village, to try to make up a little difference in some of the pricing on this. So we're looking at the 1.2 million to deal with the addition of the station and a new truck at this time.
Okay.
And Chief, just a quick question. I know that you had looked at White Sands, and possibly another location, correct, to possibly assist with ISO ratings and those kinds of things, and it would kind of play a dual role. Is that this one, or is that something?
That is this portion, yes, getting additional trucks on the north side of town over here at Station 2 would help out with ISO ratings. And in the future, we can look at getting an additional ladder truck. We have one right now. To increase our ISO ratings, they would like to see 2 ladder trucks in the village. And with this addition, making the bays long enough, we can station another ladder truck over there as well to help our ISO ratings.
That way we'll have one on each side
Yes,
of
sir.
town then.
Yes, sir.
And,
That's
yeah.
what the plan is, and that's what, if you look at the ISO, they have a flow test, the flow rating that they do. So different buildings, based on their height and stuff, they have to, if we have so many buildings over 4 or 5 stories, whatever it is, 2, 3 stories, it's written out, you're required 2 ladder trucks in town. Or 3
Okay.
ladder trucks, depending on the size of the town.
On the size of the town and tall building,
Yes, sir.
so, okay.
Any questions on the fire fund?
So remind me, how do we get the fire fund? I know we get it through the state, but,
It's through the state fire marshal's office. It's based on our volume of calls.
okay,
And some of it is on our ratings, our ISO ratings. They look at that stuff as well. So right now, we're getting, it's about 400, almost 500,000 right now is what we get per year.
every year.
Yes, and if we add any stations or substations or any, could get an increase in that. So what we've done, actually, we're hoping to get an increase in that this next year. We've added a truck over at the old purchasing building, and we've got one of our wildland trucks over there, stationed there, inside one of the bays underneath it.
okay. I
And
didn't
they
know that.
are going to review that, and they said we should be able to use that as a substation, so that should increase our funding as well with an additional substation on that side of town. So that's where that money comes from, and out of that 500,000, we have been paying $90,000 a year roughly on the loan for the 2 fire trucks that we
Right.
bought years ago.
Right.
And this is the last year on that, so we'll be seeing that money after
That
this
money
year,
generating
being
back
able to, whether we need to take a loan out for another truck or whatever, but that'll be getting back into our budget to use.
Budget coming there. So this substation down here, is it?
That's counted, yes, sir.
That counts?
Yes, there is a truck
But
in
what
there.
about Bob Moore that's next to
That's-
Station 1?
That hasn't been because it hasn't been heated, there hasn't been a truck station in it.
Okay,
But we are in the process of doing some remodeling on that. We've put a new roof on it. We've put a heating system in it. And we are fixing to take one of the walls out of there. We are gonna station a truck in there as well. And that will be able to be counted as a
Are you
substation.
gonna
well.
treat the wood outside?
Yes, we are.
And has this one been treated here?
We're going to be treating it, and we're
Yeah,
gonna be
those are
repainting this.
Beautiful buildings.
And we are waiting on a certificate of insurance from Bass Brothers Roofing. We're actually fixing to put a brand-new metal roof on it as well, just so we can keep up with it. And where there are some woodpecker issues on there, the woodpeckers are going to town on the building, so we're fixing to try to figure out some ways to prevent that from happening. So, yes, we are in the process of taking care of all the buildings a little better.
And Mayor and Council, just a quick comment, with Chief positioning that new substation right there at the purchasing building with special events, he's now put his team in a better approach to have any response to emergencies for larger events through Midtown or anything else.
Yes, sir.
It's pretty quick, so that's a huge benefit that they've.
Correct,
put
deputy
themselves in.
manager. So we're, in that building, they have rooms that we can set up as first aid rooms, so we're gonna be working on that with Matt, trying to make sure that we can have access to those rooms. So there's gonna be a bed in there possibly, if there's an injury or somebody gets sick, we can bring them into that as a first aid room for a big event. So that's part of our plan as well.
did they take off the second level?
They have not yet. That still has storage on it. The first bay is where we have one of our wildland trucks.
Okay.
If they ever get that storage stuff removed and can get one of those second levels removed,
Right.
we can put one of our bigger fire trucks over there and upgrade the service out of that as a
'Cause
substation.
that's what I remembered, that on the south side, it had a drive-through. There was 2 bay doors to have the Vector truck, I believe, while the larger vehicles to come in. And that way they could work on them, because that's what be my concern. Right now, you're pulling out the Wildland truck, having to unlock a gate, correct? Is it still fenced off
Yes, it
around
is.
there?
It is still fenced off because Adam
So-
still uses it for storage.
So that's, if there's any way to, well, they gotta secure all that stuff.
Right.
Anyway, I was just thinking straight access out to Center Street would be the best avenue, but,
Yes, if they can get that storage taken care of, we could look at doing it that way. But right now, if we go over there and if we're there for a special event, we can have that gate open and use it. But right now, like I said, we do have that wildland truck, and yes, we do have to unlock the gate. When we do an all-call, we'll tell somebody to go straight there and get that truck, because we do have an additional, we bought the new additional wildland truck, so we've got 6 wildland trucks available in town, plus that one there, that would be our 7th wildland truck, so we can get that out fairly quickly and
Okay,
going to a fire.
okay.
Any questions on that?
Go back to EMS. Let's
EMS
go back to EMS fund, which is on page 61. You want to tell me how the instructions gonna be? You want to tell me about the instructions?
So on the EMS funding, we've been getting about, I think this last year we got 17,000 is what it shows here. So they've got some legislative funding that just passed, where we're actually looking at increasing EMS funding. We've asked for $100,000 for EMS fund, and they're very optimistic that we will be getting that.
Oh, wow.
And that covers all of our EMS supplies, our training, any additional equipment we need. So that's one of the things that the legislators passed this year, and all departments are potentially gonna see an increase in funding. They haven't increased that for, Ron, do you remember how long that was? Back in the 80s was when?
Oh, it's been since the conception of it, yes.
From the EMS fund, so it's been a long
The
time.
formula's been the same on the distribution of the EMS Fund Act.
We've been getting 12,000, 14,000, 16,000, 18,000.
Yeah.
But we're looking at trying to hopefully getting
Get 100,000, that'd be great.
And we'll use it to purchase new AEDs for our fire trucks, is what we're gonna do. New equipment, upgrading our equipment, so we've got plans for that 100,000 already. Besides training and supplies, we do have additional equipment. Upgrading, and what we'll do with the upgrade is, the upgrade on the AEDs that we're gonna be getting they're gonna be compatible with what EMS uses, so we can roll up on a patient, start working on that patient, get the pads on them, and we just have to unplug our machine and they can plug theirs right into it, so.
Wow, that's
We're trying to work a little bit better and easier with EMS as well. Any questions on that? What else?
Emergency manager.
Okay.
Now, emergency manager, page 28.
Well, besides being the in-house young person, what Michael and Cheryl said, I am the emergency manager, and so we'll go over today's budget for the new fiscal year. So with that, the first part is my salary.
We need to go with that, that's
benefits,
10,000 and
myself and
4,000,
I.
this one down here.
So then we'll go over to office supplies.
We had asked for
And so
10,
office
4,000, I don't know where the
supplies, I
10,000 came
increased that
from.
500 to 2,000. That is.
Get your microphone over there, would you, partner?
Yeah, there you go.
We'd rather hear you than them.
So with that, that's just increasing due to the Emergency Operations Center. And so, yes, 500 is adequate for a one-person office, but then I also have 36 people that come in during a period of activation that always needs pins, and there are no pins to be found. And so just increasing that budget item to have forms, logbooks, all the FEMA forms, stuff like that. Then we go over to the non-cap funding, and so I know Cheryl touched on it just a little bit. She talked about the radios and frequencies and stuff like that. You know, during the McBride fire, we had most of our communication, if not all of our communication, go down. And so, working with the safety office in coordination with my office, Public Works, Parks and Rec, we definitely want to start casting a better net for radio repeaters for our Public Works and our boots on the ground that is not public safety. And so that includes Parks and Rec, Public Works, both water distributions and sewer management. That includes safety, that includes just some other departments in there as well as emergency management. And so when we do have a EOC activation recall, we are firmly relying on just cell phone usage to notify the EOC staff to come in and staff the Emergency Operations Center. From McBride, we learned that we can't always count on phone service. And so having each EOC section chief, we're using ICS terms, to have a designated radio, that's how we can have that continuity of operations when we are calling in EOC staff, or if my logistics section is out in the field doing logistics work, I can still contact them from the Emergency Operations Center.
Do we have access to Starlink?
So, we'll get to that, Counselor. And so, with that, we budgeted for 15, and that is just for EOC staff. So my EOC staff, so those are usually your directors and managers, like Bernadine, she's my sheltering and mass care officer for the Emergency Operations Center. So we'll pay for her radio. Adam put in his budget radios, safety put in their budget radios, and then the frequencies for emergency management, and then the other frequencies are coming out of my budget. So it's a collaborative effort to expand our interagency coordination between our departments. So we have those two. We did move the satellite phone, the minutes, and the EOC sat internet to a new line item for utilities. And so to circle back, Councilor Corey, is we are planning to move the Emergency Operations Center to the Horton Complex. And with that move, we do plan on putting satellite internet on the Emergency Operations Center. And so again, we go back into redundancies. We will have satellite internet at the facility so we can use the World Wide Web. But also, just yesterday, our new satellite phone came in. And so we did budget it for this year, Judy, moved some numbers around and got us a satellite phone. So we do have a satellite phone today, and it's back there in my bag. And so we do have that capability of it's really hitting the fan. We can make that call out to interagency dispatch in Alamogordo or the State Operations Center in Santa Fe saying we need help. That just, again, has that more redundancy when it comes to emergency operations. And so now you're looking at that and you're going 6,000 for Starlink. Well, we do plan, or me, myself, and I do plan to go out for grants. There are a couple of emergency management grants out there that the state and the feds provide. One of them just opened up at the beginning of this week called SHISHGAP, State Homeland Security Grant. And we do plan on purchasing the physical equipment with that grant for like Starlink, the dish, the repeater, whatever technological things Andrew will talk me through. And so with that, we just budgeted for the actual internet services for that year. Same goes for the satellite phone, the minutes. There is a cost per month for that sat phone to have it. But if we do make calls out, it's like an old time phone where they'll charge you the minutes. It's like $2 per minute, however many times. And so we did incorporate that, and so that 500 is just in reserve. So if we do have to utilize that phone, we will have that money to pay for it.
How would you use that phone?
How would we use
Who would
that
you call?
phone? So I have I call it the Doomsday Book. It'll be in a Pelican case, and so we do plan on handing that phone off. If I'm out of town, then it'll go to Chief. If Chief's out of town and I'm out of town, then it'll go to Dispatch or other Chief. So that phone does plan to stay here. And the primary goal of that phone is if we lose all communications in and out of the village, that is our one lifeline to contact the state and say we need help. Or if we're doing evacuation notices, I can call the State Operations Center and say, I need you to forward an emergency alert to this geographical area. And so it's that lifeline that goes out that can continue operations. And of course, they're wanting to know, where do we stage vehicles at? Where do we send folks? Stuff like that. You know, the governor always wants to get a phone call, so it's just that one line that we have that redundancy to get out to protect life and property and incident stabilization. So as we move forward, the one item that I did skip was the subscription and dues. We did not budget any subscription and dues this year because I pay for my subscription and dues out of my own pocket, and that's like my professional association fees. And so that's just a best practice that I do personally. So not saying that I am leaving, but again, it's just all tied to me instead of just the office. So then we
about the
jump down.
51002, it has
$6,100.
$6,100 in it. For
61.
subscription and dues.
Of general office supplies.
Is that general office
Yeah,
supplies?
no.
It's above it.
Line item 051-51-002.
6180.
Or ought.
Yeah, what was it? Is it an odd dot or?
Did you change that?
What is it?
Odd
No?
not.
Oh, then that could have been the
28.
contractual services. I'm not sure. We probably have to look at that a little closer.
Because actually, 23-24 was, the budget was 200, and now it's 6180, 6,180. Am I looking at that wrong?
No, you're right.
You had it right.
I don't think you're seeing what we're seeing, though.
No, the only form that I was given was this form, and then I'm looking at that. I don't know where that, because that comes out of my own pocket. I don't really deal with that. The contractual services, that's more for like the alert sense and then the web EOC that I'll get into, but. Okay.
I know when I was.
You're generous.
I'm not, yeah, I'll take that out. I'm not sure where the 6180 came from either, Mayor and Council. I know that we were using it for, Emergency Manager Association dues. That's where the $60 a year was coming from on the previous years. And, so I know that's part of what that was some of that money was coming from, but where the 6180, I'm not sure where that.
So you're paying our dues for you to be part of the Association of Emergency Managers?
No, so I pay my dues to be a member of the association. So how Chief had it signed up was the office would have the dues for that department. So it'd be the Village of Ruidoso. So each year it would be paid for the Village of Ruidoso Emergency Manager to be a part of the association. But when I came into this position, I was already a member of the association.
So,
But we should pay.
But we,
going forward, the village will pay for it.
No, he's saying he's paying for it.
but I think it's
I just don't want redundancy.
Right, but now tomorrow you're gone, we have to budget because the next person comes in and says, I'm not paying for that.
I don't think he should
And
have.
you shouldn't be.
Okay.
I understand why you are. It makes some sense, but then from a professional standpoint, I don't think it's right that you're in there and we are not paying.
Correct. Is that a monthly?
No, we-
I mean, a
Mayor-
yearly fee?
Mayor and council, we do that with other department directors and managers. We pay the dues for New Mexico Municipal League, so I would say just let's include some sort of expense on that item there, and we can pay for that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Should be,
But I definitely don't need 6,000.
right.
Thinking it must have been 6180.
In the comment, comma or arrow. So, all right.
Just a zero.
Judy's already taken care of it.
Chief Eric, are there any other dues related to emergency management, either state or other levels that we should be paying for, or?
So the associations that I'm a part of is the International Association of Emergency Management, the New Mexico Emergency Management Association, the All Hazards Incident Management Association, and the Community Emergency Response Team National Certification Organization. And so those are 4 dues that I'm professionally paying for just for myself, because it's all about connecting and networking, and emergency managers are strong, and we all kind of know each other, and we're always there for each other. So those are the fees and dues that I pay, and I don't mind because it's a part of my association.
Just get Judy what those are, and we'll budget those.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I do appreciate that. All right, so let's move on to contract services. We do have AlertSense, which is that the basic public out-facing Call Me Ruidoso system. So that's like your E911, reverse 911. That service is up for a contract renewal. I already talked with AlertSense, and they already sent me over a new contract. Me and Chief have to talk with Ron to solidify that new contract, as well as the council, but it does lock in that price. I said, hey, if we get this rolling, can we lock in the price than we were previously at? And they said, yeah, we can do that.
Are we
So-
limited on how many times we can use it? Nope. It doesn't cost us additional for that 20 grand.
No, Mr. Mayor, so the AlertSense costs us $47.50 a year, $4,750 a year. It's unlimited calls, unlimited text messages, not like the previous service that we had
Yes.
used. This one here is unlimited notifications.
You said $4,700?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this one's 20?
No, well, no, there's another thing that's coming up, this $15,000 that he's gonna talk about. The 5,000 of that covers the AlertSense, and then the additional 15,000, Eric's fixing to discuss that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that AlertSense covers that opt-in piece where we're telling the public to sign up, but it also includes that opt-out piece, which is the WIA alerts, the wireless emergency alerts that you get. You probably got one on Monday with that Amber Alert that went out statewide. So that does give us the ability on the local level to send out that emergency.
So that's an opt-out.
Opt-out.
So it's automatic. Everybody's got a phone, gets it?
Yes,
You
sir.
have to opt out. Okay,
Yes,
good.
sir. So that's included with that whole AlertSense package. The Web EOC, just like what Chief was saying, when they are looking at their own software package for the fire department in terms of doing inspection reports, all of that, same thing goes for emergency management. When we do convey the Emergency Operations Center, all of those FEMA forms are now going to be incorporated into the Web EOC platform. And so instead of doing all of the logs by hand, and we're sitting there and we're going, who said what? Or I'm sitting there, 4 years after the disaster, still fighting with FEMA, and I'm trying to figure out what that person meant. They can type it in, and it's a repository for all of those logs. It does integrate with the State Operations Center. So if I'm sitting here and I need a resource request, I type that in, and then it automatically goes to the State Operations Center. And so now we put in that request, and then I have to make like 4 phone calls and then an email and fill out a form. And so
So
it
the fire
just,
department doesn't use anything like that?
We don't use anything to request those. We call the state and say, we need these resources.
Okay. I was just curious, because this software stuff,
Yep.
we'll buy one over here, spend a fortune, and we buy another one over here, and this one will do what this one wanted to do,
Yeah.
but we're not trained on it, so we drop that and we move. So I just want to make sure we're getting a new one and we're going to use it.
yes, we will. And it will make my life a lot easier right now. I know some of y'all get my reports. That's all integrated with the National Weather Service, and they'll be automatically
So when you type all
generated.
this in, it's going to populate these forms for you,
Yes, sir.
basically, like what we've done the police department
Yes, sir.
with all that. Great.
Yeah, that's a good.
So it cuts my productivity.
Mr. Mayor, on that-
Improves your.
Improve, yes, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, we're not cutting anything just yet, but
should that contract be reviewed by legal?
yes, absolutely, and that's standard. Any contract we have coming in goes to legal to make sure we've got our ifs, ands, or buts.
It's always
Send that
better to
up.
defend after the fact.
Yeah.
And like Eric said, the state is using Web EOC. They have been using it for a few years now, so it'll tie his emergency management department in with the state for anything that we need, so any requests. And if they need requests, they can send stuff to Eric. If they're requesting a fire truck or a piece of equipment somewhere else in the state, like they've done in Santa Fe.
Sure.
Or some of these other, all they gotta do is hit the button and it sends it to us, and we'll be able to get that as
Okay,
well. through
great.
that.
We good on those 2 items?
Yes.
All right, let's press forward. The school and travel, I have that budgeted for 4,000. And that's just going to conferences like the Partners in Preparedness, the DHSCM quarterly meetings, and just multiple classes.
Because that's
I was about to
10,000.
say, ours says 10,000 and you say 4, so.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to, so it's $4,000?
Just saving all kinds of money.
That's to make us feel better, I see.
She's got this old trick, I throw a number and then I can take it out of there.
Woohoo!
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
So we have that for 4,000, and that's just for miscellaneous classes, just my professional development, going outside and shaking hands and taking names and all that good stuff. We'll move on to the last three, which are primarily dedicated to sirens, or the outdoor warning system. And so equipment maintenance, we have sirens, and we have that for 7,000.
Yes.
And those are just replacing the batteries. Those are just making sure that the sirens are being upkeep, the new ones that we do have. When we get down to vehicles and equipment, we do have that strategized for replacing sirens. We do have an aging outdoor warning system. And as always, as the outdoor warning system, you also have to have layers in communication. And so I would just, again, urge the public to have multiple layers to receive emergency alerts.
So
And sirens are in
these
part of
new
that.
sirens, Eric, will they do anything different than?
No, so they are going to be your continued air tone sirens. And so we have had those discussions to look at PA sirens. You know, we are a heavily tourist populated community, and we always fight with the sirens of, what do the sirens mean? You know, we have a bunch of West Texans here that have always been trained to shelter in place with a siren, and here we're trying to go, hey, you need to get out.
of town.
And so, with those sirens, that's just the maintenance. We'll skip down to the vehicle maintenance and the 3 sirens plan, and then we'll go back up to the vehicle maintenance. But in terms of the replacing the 3 sirens, that is one of our strategic plans and tactical plans, is replacing 3 sirens every year. We did increase that by a few to 80,000 because of inflation, and then the issues with getting poles and merchandise, not merchandise, but equipment to put in the poles, and the installation and all of that has all increased over the last couple of years.
Mr. Mayor, weren't you moving some of the sirens from what I would call public utility poles to those that are actually on the village property?
Yes, we would be taking them from private properties and moving them to public facilities or village-owned facilities.
How many sirens do we have?
So currently, we have 11 sirens, but we do have, but that 11 one is Upper Canyon, at the very end, old civil defense siren that doesn't work. So truly, we have 10 sirens.
So while we're on that, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I don't know if you saw the social media traffic after the firing of the sirens when the wind was blowing. Surely we can look at that and maybe not do that again, or, okay.
Yes, so in
Like, I don't
Annex A,
When it went off on the first,
On the first,
or
and
was
it
it
was that
15th?
real
late.
15th.
windy
it
day,
it was windy, and then it just started again. I don't defend or deny the fact that people sit there and if they find something to complain about, they will. But you have to look at it and
Definitely.
still take it into consideration and go, you know what? That was a day that somebody could have said, oh no, what has happened?
Yeah.
Because the wind's blowing, and then I think they went off at the wrong time, or,
They were a little late.
They were late.
Doubled.
And they doubled.
so again, just to check on learning, to say, you know what, in the future, we may not want to do that.
The chief's already covering that over here. Because we got a couple of calls and found out that there was another emergency going on, so they didn't press it right when they were supposed to, and somebody thought, well, it never got pressed, so they pressed it. So we had a double.
Yeah, so we did reconvene off that. There has been edits to the emergency operation plan, Annex A, which is warning and alerts, which houses the SOPs for setting off the sirens and all of that. So we did make an edit during red flag or high wind warning days, or at the discretion of the alerter, which is that person that calls for that siren to be sounded, is to delay or just cancel that test altogether on those significant impact days.
Perfect.
And then we will receive complaints that we didn't.
Of course you will.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, because why aren't you? And then the other, well, I think too, anytime we have especially more recently, a controlled burn,
Definitely.
that would be a double-edged sword for sure. I know.
Well, because then I don't hear it anyway. Where are they? What?
Do I get a new one?
Yep.
Now it's too loud.
Yep.
And we're, like I said, like Garrett was talking, we're gonna be placing some in some different spots now and adding some to where we're putting them. So there'll be better coverage with sirens. And we've got future plans of some additional sites that we're looking at to increase the coverage. And it's actually gonna help the counties people as well, especially along Gavilan Canyon and stuff. 'Cause we're looking at some sites along there that'll actually hit the Gavilan Canyon area. Right now, none of our sirens actually hit that area, and the county does not have a siren system themselves, so we put these up there. It'll help that population as well.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Why don't they have one? You ever discussed it with them?
Nope.
The Downs has one, and we have one, but the county does not.
So Downs not tied into ours at all? They set it off themselves?
Chief Chavez, does dispatch have the capability to sound the down sirens?
Yes.
They do?
Yes.
Okay,
They just have to request it themselves.
thank you, Chief.
When's your ISO survey? You said it was gonna be in the spring?
It's gonna be, I believe we have it scheduled for May the 7th, tentatively scheduled for May the 7th right now. That's what we're looking at, them being down here.
That's not very long from now. So as a water department, or in conjunction with whomever, been able to test fire hydrants, get ready for the ISO?
Adam has been keeping everything on file, that he's been doing the flow test, and so once they come here, he's supposed to be providing us with all this paperwork, showing that they have the flow test done, all the water storage and stuff, so yes, we should have everything ready for them. We've had a couple pre-inspections. The State Fire Marshal's office came down and has been going over stuff with us, getting us ready for the inspection, so we should be in really good shape for this ISO inspection.
Great.
And actually, next Tuesday, the State Fire Marshal's office is coming in and doing a final pre-inspection with us in the afternoon to make sure everything is where they need it to be, and right before the inspection the following week. So.
Great, thank you.
And, Mr. Mayor, if I may, the EOC, are you gonna be able to have what you need and/or want in there as you're moving into this new EOC?
So the preliminary discussions with village management was we would go in for the grants, and that would purchase a lot of the equipment that would be housed in the EOC, but we do have those contingency plans to have, I know the convention center is, in their budget, had tables, and so we could acquire those tables from the convention center. And I know that Anthony over at the community center, they are a hoarder of chairs. And so I can pull for some of those chairs for the immediate future, but that grant would cover for all
Yeah, I
of
would
that.
think if we're going in there and it's a new thing, let's try to make it as nice as possible from the get-go.
Yeah.
And
Because
because
you want
it's,
it set up, you don't want
Yep.
to have to go running, trying to find.
well, yeah, because he briefed it as the other night when we were at the police academy thing, briefing it about hot, warm, cold, I think
Yes.
it was. And we wanted to have the EOC to be warm to where all you do is flip a switch. Instead of, oh, well, we gotta get all this out, we gotta get the tables out, we gotta do this. Nope, flip the switch, sit down and go.
Yeah. And to preference that, it would be a hot EOC because my office is connected.
There you go.
And so all I do is just walk from one table to the other table and then call in my EOC staff.
And Mayor Crawford, Councilor Hooker, will have the EOC room, and then we'll have a separate, where all the phone bank's gonna be at. That'll be separated, and then Eric's office, so it's gonna be really nice, so, but we'll move forward and whatever we have to do, so.
Keep it separated. Okay.
Any other questions?
Good job, Eric.
I just want to take a moment and say thank you for everything that y'all have done to support my department. We've grown substantially since I first got here.
Well, you
And
just
so-
getting here grew it quite a bit.
Yeah. I know I was already tall when I walked in,
Yeah, you were
so,
already big when you got here, so.
but I do appreciate it and the support every day.
You do a lot of
Thanks,
hard
Eric.
work, and
Got a great attitude.
I appreciate all that, the weather updates and all that. Took me a while to learn how to read them all. It's got a lot of information.
Took me a while to type it all.
I bet it
I'm
did.
just kidding.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's lunchtime.
Lunchtime. Lunchtime, huh?
For a break.
What's next, police?
Yeah, please.
Mark and Brian.